double check, make sure everything went okay with the live stream, and then we should be good. 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 Get this link to the chat as well. It looks like we are almost ready to get into game one here on this Wednesday evening. Caster Curse versus Kappachungus Deluxe. Week 2 of the LOLMidwest Rec League, featuring two, I feel like, crowd favorites in Kappachungus and Caster Curse. No, Kappachungus, very active in chats, always memeing around, always fun. Caster Curse, I know, has some returning names from LOLMidwest periods prior. Delay, it's been 5 minutes. I don't think it's much of a delay. Just taking a look. Caster Curse with a 2-0 last week, and Kappachungus Deluxe falling 2-0 to Papa Twisted Gank It. So both teams very early on in the season here looking to make a stand. See some good spirited messages exchanged back and forth here, and there is our Drafter LOL link. Let me get this OPGG updated based off who's actually here. Get the draft link open. We'll start to jump right into it. As a reminder, this is a best of 3 Fearless game, Fearless series here. First set of bans coming through, some junglers exchanged on each side. A Mumu going to be taken out, as well as Karma. Karma is one of Penn's most played by quite a wide margin. Does look quite dependable on other champions, but getting rid of that, getting rid of the Amumu from One-Handed Gaming as well. Two kind of power picks that are strong in both team fighting, and I think more importantly have an ease to execute. So force a bit of a tough hand there. And on the other side, two jungler bans coming in against a substitute foe 88, who I don't know if he was here last week. Doesn't look like it. Third jungle ban. Let me get this guy's OPGG pulled up. Wonder if it was a name change. Regardless, looking at draft, 3 jungle bans for the side of Caster Curse means Kappachungus is going to first pick the Pantheon. Big fan of Pantheon early rotation because it is a bit of a flex pick. You can put it in the jungle, you can put it, support, you can even top. I think jungle is kind of the normal role we see it in, and based off those 3 jungle bans coming through, that's where I'd maybe expect it to be. But we'll see what ends up happening as Lucian and Echo taken on the other side of things as well. Talia going to be paired up with the Pantheon. Big fan of that combo as well. One of the things we look for in drafting and competitive play, Exhibit A being that FlyQuest Game 5 yesterday, is ease to execute. And Talia can be a bit difficult to navigate sometimes, but when you pair it up with something that has point and click CC, like that Pantheon stun, makes it easy to land your worked ground combos and really pump out the damage. Kappachungus gonna round out their first round of drafts here with an Ashe pick. I like that as well. Ashe is just a very safe utility AD carry. Has that range advantage over that early pick of the Lucian that Caster Curse opted for, so should set themselves up well with a very strong early game right now. The response for Caster Curse is going to be a Volibear pick. Also a bit of a flex, not too sure where this Echo and Volibear could be going. Expect the Echo to be mid. I know we've seen Crosis on that last week, and they did pretty well for themselves in that mid lane. Not going to say it's a favorable matchup if Talia can navigate it well, but if that Echo does get on top of the Talia, Pilt could be in for a rough time, especially on a Crosis comfort champ here. His most played this season, last season, the season before. This is his go-to, this is his main, so having that in game 1 should be comfortable for Caster Curse. Expect to see some support and top bans coming through on each side. We see the Melio ban coming in. A Nami ban wouldn't surprise me either, just getting rid of those strong pairings with the Lucian and forcing maybe more of a skill matchup in the bottom lane, in which if you have the Ashe with this range advantage, you should be able to poke out the Lucian with a bit more ease. Nami ban is being hovered, and oh my gosh, gas me up. One prediction right. Crosis, yeah, for the delay on the stream, if you guys want me to, I can, but we will have just the 3-minute spectator delay anyway. So in terms of competitive integrity, nothing should be affected too much. General practice-wise, most of the Midwest streams, I believe, don't have a delay. It also allows for a bit of interaction with chat as well. So 2 top lane bans coming through for Caster Curse, the Malphite and Mordekaiser. Opening way for a Kappachungus Shen pick. So talking about that ease of execution, I love what KC Deluxe is doing here. You have 2 globals, you have tons of utility, tons of teamfight potential. You're setting yourself up for a very standard front-to-back combo, and I'd like to see some kind of safe engage pick out of Campbell here. Maybe a Rakan, maybe something with a little more range, as you can't go too heavy engage into Braum. So looks like Lulu's going to be the answer, saying they already have enough frontline with the Shen, with the Pantheon, so let's opt for something more utility-based, help peel off what is setting up to be quite the potent dive from Caster Curse here, then Echo and a Volibear. We'll see what's locked in top lane here. Probably this 5th pick after those 2 top lane bans. One-handed gaming is going to go for the Trundle. Ooh, that's fun. So is a bit of flexibility in this draft with both Trundle and Volibear. Expecting those 2 to be one of the top, one of the jungle. We'll see how it ends up shaking out. At the bottom lane, I didn't touch on the Braum pick too much. Brahm's another solid pairing with the Lucian. I'm not a huge fan of it this game, just because Braum, excels when he can frontline, and most of his frontlining power comes from throwing up that unbreakable will and blocking a lot of projectile damage, which there isn't too much of on the side of Kappachungus. It's like the R's are coming through, so we'll sit through draft. There'll be the 3-minute spectator delay. It's again to ensure some competitive integrity. And then we'll see how things ultimately shake out. Yeah, the name Caster Curse is like a little, I don't know how I feel about that. I think I may have to play into that a little bit. Yeah, I think blue side has a lot easier of a team comp to kind of navigate, just because you're playing this more stock standard front to back. You have this longer range damage threats in the Ashe and the Talia, and I like how Pantheon and Shen match up into the bruiser front line of Caster Curse. I think the one exception, I love the Trundle pick because that can really shred through the Shen and the Pantheon, get in there, kind of whack away. So we'll see how coordinated Caster Curse can be in that dive. In terms of early game power, though, definitely tipped in the favors of Kappachungus, in my opinion. You have a much better bot lane, double ranged into short range AD carry and Braum. Braum into Enchanter supports is never a great time. Granted, if you can close the gap, get the engage off, stack up your passive, you do have great all-in potential, but usually you're going to get poked out of lanes like these. In the mid lane, I'll have my eyes on Pilk, see what they can do on the Talia to really poke out this Echo, Kroos' comfort pick. And then in the top lane, I think Caster Curse do have the edge there with the Trundle, but it's just not a significant edge until Trundle starts to get a few items. One-handed gaming is pretty comfortable on the Trundle. It's most played of the season, so that'll be something to look out for. But Shen base damages are very high early, so I think until that Trundle ticks over to level 6, Shen will be able to hold his own plenty fine, and once that Shen does hit level 6, I'm really excited about this mid-game. Both sides have very explosive mid-game comps. You have double globals with Pantheon and Shen, so that makes it tough to really force anything on the side of Caster Curse. But in the mid game, that's exactly what Caster Curse are going to be looking to do. They're going to want to force. You have, Lucian on that 1-item, 2-item power spike, Echo on a 1-item power spike, and then Braum passive in the midst of all of that. So I think that's where this game is going to be kind of decided, is who can navigate these mid-game skirmishes better. Now, obviously, if one team jumps out to a big lead, I'd expect it to be Kappachungus, and that maybe helps enable them in these mid-game skirmishes. But if they're not careful, Caster Curse has a very explosive, aggressive front line here that will be able to punish any missteps. The interesting part will be how KCD responds to that with their globals. 3 globals even with the Talia. I wasn't even counting the Talia. So it would be tough for those mid-game plays to really happen if KCD is able to kind of set up a good barrier beforehand. Oh, looks like we had a dodge. And we're back. Okay, so a tiny bit more delay. To all 4 of the viewers. I think most people gonna be watching the T1 Gen Z series, and I don't blame them. Maybe a bit higher competition than what we got going on here. But this will be more entertaining. I'm betting we'll have more kills here than we will in that MSI match. So we're going to see him mirror the bans that we see in the Drafter LOL client here. Talking late game too, if we do get there. Said I think this game is going to be decided in the mid game, but if we do manage to get to late game, I'm going to be curious to see what Caster Curse can really do in that situation. Definitely giving the edge to sorry, interested to see what Caster Curse can do. I'm giving the edge to Kappachungus in that late game. Like I said, just ease of execution. You have this standard front to back. Unless Crosis and one-handed gaming can work some magic in killing this Ashe and Talia, like they should have a tough time getting through the Polymorph, the Shen and Pantheon front line, the worked ground. And from there, the carries will be able to free hit long enough for KCD to win the fight. One of the things I've kind of noted from the Kappachungus game last week is I did like seeing Campbell on engage. I think this would have been, if I'm being nitpicky, it would have been a great angle for a recon pick here. Just add more engage, more team fight potential there. Haven't seen him navigating some Arden support, so that will be a new look. Excited to see what that is able to offer to the squad of Kappachungus. And then on the flip side, Caster Curse is the only team coming off that dominant 2-0 in that first week. They looked very strong. You know, week one overreactions just didn't drop a single team fight, didn't drop a single skirmish really. They pretty much were winning the game after 10, 15 minutes against MTE there. So we'll see if that similar dominance can be displayed here against Kappachungus. We'll see if Kappachungus can bounce back after a week one disappointing 0-2. It was a pretty close game, honestly. We've had a lot of close games in the league here, just going on like incredibly long, with a lot of tense team fights. So narrative-wise, we'll see what happens. Yeah, the Sejuani ban came in through for the side of Caster Curse, so I do like that Sejuani Braum pairing though. And then you'll have a 4 Freljord comp. So spectator delay coming on through. Just 3 minutes here, and then we'll get into the action. I think the one thing I'll be interested in from Caster Curse side is going against MTE. Yes, they executed significantly better in the early game and transitioned that into the mid game well. But this is a game where, at least on paper, I don't expect them to be able to steamroll the early game. A lot of their advantages came from, you know, a less meta jungle pick and then a weaker bot lane that MTE kind of opted into. In this game, Kappachungus has drafted a stronger bot lane and a jungler that will keep pace just fine into both sides, really. Expect both junglers to just kind of full clear and keep things even there. But with a winning bot lane, we'll see how that changes things for Caster Curse. I do expect them to, if you want to play a little game here, I could say I expect them to be the favorites. You know, easy call out being the one team that won 2-0 against the one team that lost 0-2, but this is week 2. And by saying that, I kind of cover myself. I can be right in the prediction, or I could just play into the Caster Curse kind of moniker. I will be interested in the mid-jungle 2v2 as well. Have my eyes there, as that Pantheon Talia has great burst damage. But we saw the mid-jungle of Caster Curse put in some significant work in the previous week. Big part of why they were able to snowball and kind of steamroll the games. And so maybe they can just outhands it. And then Trundle in the top lane is going to be where your advantage is on the side of Caster Curse early on. Teemo's Gucci, great top laner. We've seen him on kind of the more safer tank picks, and I do like the Shen here, as it always opts well into blind pick. It always goes well, fares well at least, into a variety of lanes, and just the utility you offer your team with that global ulti, that Stand United, of always having that threat. That's something to keep an eye out for as we load into game. Take a look at what we got here. Croesus going for the Ignite. That is bold. Not sure if I'm a fan of that, as when you're dealing with 3 globals, he's really playing the snowball game. A Darksteel purchase too. Loving the confidence. Why not? He's throwing down the gauntlet, so like I said, I think mid game is where this is going to be decided eventually. And it looks like Caster Curse are already setting up for a bit of an early invade here. They are favored in the level 1 just because of that Braum passive. It's going to be a bit tough to close the gap, though, with this proper 5-point stacking that KCD have set themselves up with. Sorry, my frames are not doing so hot, huh? Yeah. Close out a few things, see if that makes a difference.
Minions have spawned.
So nothing too crazy on in this this early game here, but my eyes are at this Darksteel that Croesus has, so never mind the Trundle. I think the Gauntlet's thrown down in this mid jungle here. Croesus is going to need to get ahead, especially with the Ignite. A few solo kills onto Pilk would be something that would be very favorable for Caster Curse. As we see Golden Sunset and Campbell starting to get this push in. Big fan of Golden Sunset's gameplay. I think he is one of the strong points of Kappachungus. They play together great as a team, but I think they win best when Golden Sunset is able to free hit on some sort of hyper carry champion that has agency. So my eyes will be peeled for him in terms of how KCD is able to keep him safe. You have this Lulu, you have this Talia, so great peel options. Look what he's doing. CLT is active in the chat. Go enjoy the bowling, man. The man's been casting like every other game here. Gotta give him a little bit of time off. So a little bit of trading back and forth. Like I said, this Trundle early game already up 8-1 CS. Granted, Shen will get a little bit of that back as the stacked wave crashes, but exactly what you want to see out of your R5 counter pick here in the top lane. Dialing into the junglers as well. We are clearing on opposite sides of the map. One-handed gaming going in for a deep ward here is going to spot out Foe 88. So that's going to be pretty helpful in terms of keeping him safe. Unless Foe kind of wants the smoke here, as Trundle going in for the engage here. Running forward, taking a chomp, just delaying this Pantheon's clear as a heal exchange in the bottom lane. Campbell falling dangerously low, is forced to flash out. Summoner's down, but Golden Sunset giving chase. Flashes forward onto Big Sexpert. Pens tagging him with the Braum Q, and now on the run as this Ashe passive is slowing, and she is hunting. Few autos traded back and forth. Big Sexpert trying to dash out. Pens finds himself in a bit of a sticky situation, throws up the Unbreakable just in time. At the end of all that, no one ends up dying. But a significant trade of Summoner spells. That all in coming in from Caster Curse's bottom lane. Forcing Campbell to both heal and flash out, falling dangerously low into double-digit health. But not quite enough to complete the kill. And from there, Golden Sunset is able to give chase. Pops the Ghost, starts shooting arrows into the backs of that Lucian Braum, and with that range advantage is able to do so pretty comfortably. So gets the waves pushed in, but when all's said and done, that is going to be favorable for the Caster Curse bottom lane, as they're able to crash this wave comfortably, start to build up just a tiny CS lead, but more importantly keep some summoners on themselves, as Teemos Kuchi forced to flash out, taking a bad trade into the Trundle there. Pilk trading back and forth with Crosis a bit. Just tickling the wave down. And Foe going to use the Shield Bash forward, and with Teemos Kuchi going in with that taunt, One-Handed Gaming is also forced to flash out. It's 5 minutes in here. We've already got some good action. Foe 88 making his presence known, forcing a summoner in the top side, and we have now some summoner-less situations as Crosis flashes forward, lands the Chrono Break stun, and with that Ignite, we pointed it out, catches Pilk a bit off guard. High base damage there with the Electrocute and the Ignite. Parallel Convergence comes in on the recalling Pilk, and there's the solo kill we're looking for if you're a Caster Curse fan. One-Handed Gaming freezing the wave in the top lane, getting himself set up nicely. Caster Curse looks staged to kind of run over this early game so far. Just incremental advantages being built up, and we haven't seen Etrium get too involved yet either. Let's see if things kind of continue to tip, but Teemos Kuchi falling down about 15 CS now. Gonna try to get back in the thick of things there, and then a bit of a CS deficit in the bottom lane. More importantly, Cleanse still up for that Lucian, Flash still up for the Braum. Means they will definitely be looking for the kill angle if they can get on top of the bot lane of KCD. Taunt coming in for Kuchi. Great trade onto One-Handed Gaming, who falls to a couple hundred health. But with that Trundle ulti available to subjugate, One-Handed Gaming is never going to be in too much trouble. You'll be able to pop that onto the Shen, heal up, a few hundred health. More importantly, shred the resistances and just be able to tank any fight that is ending up prolonged. So we see it here. Subjugate comes in. One-Handed Gaming is able to comfortably kind of fight back. Very comfortably fight back, as one more chomp will do it. That Trundle pick. Another solo kill for the solo laner of Caster Curse. They are doing great here. We see Pilk maybe start to roam down in the bottom lane. As we get closer to the mid game and globals become available for Kappachungus, it's going to be important to use them to create a numbers advantage and start to kind of dig themselves out of this small deficit that they find themselves in. I think Pilk was kind of fading bottom side, but not able to see any angle there. Wave is in a great spot for Kappachungus. I like what Campbell and Golden have done with the wave state here, keeping it kind of on their side, so while Pantheon is bot side, you can maybe look for a bit of an engage. But Big Sex Bird and Pens respecting it. It looks like KCD is going to call it off. Teemos Kuchi going in for another taunt. This Shen should be okay to do that without the subjugate. It is going to take quite a bit of damage on the way out. Throws the block zone. If you see that Shen taunt forward though, with that Trundle ulti up, I'd expect One-Handed Gaming to just run over for another solo kill, as Etrium looking for a bit of an engage too. Taunt falls a little short on the way out from Teemos Kuchi, and Etrium is giving chase. Storm Splitter in under the tower. And Etrium picking up Feat of Warfare for the side of Caster Curse, who are off to a dominant start in this early game, despite, having what I would call the weaker early game on paper. Pilk threading a few volleys into Crosis. Already have 2 Dark Seal stacks on that. Parallel Convergence going to fall short, as does the Worked Ground. Just a few abilities traded back and forth. We see the Volley Bear and the Trundle on the Grubs. Great work from Caster Curse, turning the kill into an objective. As Ping's coming down, in is the Pantheon ult. Grand Starfall, followed by the Ashe stun, followed by the Pantheon stun. A textbook pick on the side of Kappachungus to answer back, and their eyes turn towards the dragon. Pilk gonna get stunned. No, forced to flash out. As Crosus laying in a lot of pressure on this Echo Comfort pick. Throwing down the gauntlet. The Ignite, the Dark Seal. One solo kill, one flash forced. Maintaining even with CS. Kappachungus is going to be turning towards their bot lane and their jungle in these mid-game skirmishes and seeing what they can do to play. My eyes are still going to be on these globals. You know, Braum didn't flash out that time, so still has that up, but that should be the most punishable lane for Kappachungus. You have the Shen ulti, you have the Talia ulti. You want to see them get some roams off and try to set Golden Sunset up even more for a carry role, despite the fact that he's on this more, you know, quote-unquote utility carry in the Ashe. And a great arrow as well coming through. Teemo's Coochie is falling dangerously far behind, though. Hasn't been able to farm up too much there into the Trundle. After getting killed twice, you know, losing a few waves there. And just by this stage of the game, already with this deficit of, making a look, 1,000 gold down individually. It's really tough for him to step up in that melee versus melee matchup and comfortably hit those waves. And One-Handed Gaming is playing it great as well. Sitting back, letting the minions come to him, and forcing Teemo's Coochie to kind of sit back and respect it, or he's going to die. It's Crosus looking for a bit of a roam. A bit out of sync, our caster curse, but Crosus going to go in with the parallel convergence anyway. One-Handed Gaming diving the tower solo, and in comes Pilk with the Weaver's Wall. Forces Crosus to flash out, and Foe 88 giving chase, but it's not going to be enough. On the bottom side of the map, Big Sexpert and Pens are pushing in the wave here. Do have the Volley Bear who's going on forward. Ulti comes through. Golden Sunset forced to flash out. Flash forward from Pens. Misses the Braum Unbreakable. And now Big Sexpert is under tower taking massive damage. Campbell flashes out as well. And Golden Sunset and Campbell turning around what looked to be a disastrous dive in the bottom lane in their favor. And some kills in the top side coming through as well as One-Handed Gaming forced to flash out. A flash follow coming through from Foe. 4 kills for none on the side of Kappachungus. A massive swing in this early game here as they find themselves in the lead now. Crazy action just breaking out there. Caster Curse taking the initiative on those plays, stacking the wave in the bottom lane with the Braum, with the Lucian, and Volley Bear just kind of running on forward. Uses the Stormbringer to disable the tower, but the tower doesn't get disabled that long. It's only 2 seconds, and the follow-up CC was missing from Pens. Tried to flash forward to catch both of them. Both the bot lane members, the Ashe and Lulu, with the Glacial Fissure, but ended up kind of splitting the uprights, and from there, Golden Sunset and Campbell were able to play the range game, flash out, and then the tower turned back on, excuse me. Lucian found himself at like 200 health. Pens is aggressively canceling these backs too. Shades of Hill is saying as Foe is looking to give chase. Stun coming on forward, and Golden Sunset is starting to pepper these arrows in. Crosus on another roam does get the stun onto the Pantheon. The Braum passive is going to stack up as well with no shield available. That Pantheon is going to fall down. Another Braum stun comes through, and now Golden Sunset is in trouble. Crosus with a great roam down into the bottom lane. Brings his bot lane back into it, and another dive looks like it's going to happen here. Crosus easily able to make that one happen with that ulti to keep himself safe. And Caster Curse answer back with the 3 for 0 of their own. Picking up a few plates as well, both in the top lane and the bottom lane. Oh, top lane this is how you know it's cooked, when One-Handed Gaming is just able to walk in the face of Teemo's Coochie. Take those plates for free. Yeah, 30 CS lead in the top lane. Pretty impressive. I think the story for Caster Curse has been Crosus, who is falling dangerously low here. No flash, and Pilk is going to answer back. Shut down. Those threaded volleys right into the back of Echo. Steps forward a bit too much. Throws down the well played in all chat. We love to see that. Taunt coming through under tower from Teemos Kuchi, but Etrium is throwing phase 2. And Stormbringer will be enough to take down the tower. And from here, Teemos Kuchi is alone. Subjugate comes through. And that means this Shen has accepted his fate. Going to try to get on out of there. Doesn't quite get the cannon on the way out. It's really the only thing he could have done. It's Kappachungus looking to answer on the other side of the map. This is what you want to see. Jungle shows topside. Try to make a cross-map play. Despite the fact that you have Braum and Lucian in the area, you have your Pantheon in the bottom lane with the Grand Starfall, you still have all these globals up. And that's what I want to see out of Kappachungus. I want to see some proactivity. Instead, it's been Caster Curse who has been proactive, roaming around Crosis, setting up dives with Etrium. One-handed gaming being a big benefactor of that. You see Crosis kind of roaming again. Pilk used the Weaver's Wall back to lane, so no answer for the bottom lane rotation of Crosis. And Teemos Kuchi is still trading in the top lane, and without the push, is probably not going to be able to stand united to help his team out, should that situation arise. As Dragon is spawning, we'll see what these teams want to do in this 4 versus 4. One-handed gaming gonna recall, but doesn't have teleport, crucially. Teemos Kuchi does have the Shen stand united up. It's KCD looking for a bit of a collapse in the mid lane. Campbell has snuck in this river bush relatively safely, but members of Caster Curse sticking around, looking to compete for this second dragon here. 15 minutes in, these are the mid-game skirmishes that I've said are probably going to decide this game. Both teams very explosive. It's going to be a matter of who is able to initiate first on a priority target. You're looking at Echo, it's just both carries on each side. And with how strong this Trundle is, Ravenous Hydra ticked in. Lichbane for the Echo and Essence Reaver for the Lucian. Those one-item power spikes have come through, so it looks like Kappachungus is going to concede the Dragon. Let Teemos Kuchi farm up a little more in the top lane. Let Pilk farm up in the mid lane here. Try to clear the wave and not let one-handed gaming get too much. A stun comes in under tower, but not sure if Pilk is going to have quite enough damage. As one-handed gaming looking to turn it around. Subjugate forward, but a dive in the bot lane too. Grand Starfall a bit too late, and exhaust comes through from Pens onto Foe 88. Crosis, Chrono breaking back on top of things, but the stand united over top. 2 globals coming down. Flash forward from Teemos Kuchi to give chase after the Lucian, and Golden Sunset is going to be able to pick up a few kills on the backside. Minions destroy the towers, and now Teemos Kuchi is giving chase, waiting on that taunt to come through. Big Sexberg does have the cleanse, trying to flee on his own. The dash, both dashes come up at the same time, and that will be the end of that. Another wild skirmish in the bottom lane, and Golden Sunset now getting set up very strongly for success. 5-1 on this Ashe. Big Sexpert still with a bounty, 3-1 on the Lucian though. So despite the 5 kills on the Ashe, these 2 AD carries are dead even in gold. Now I think the strong point of this Caster Curse squad, even with those Lucian kills, is still the Trundle, the Volley Bear, and Kappachungus. They're looking to punish this Volley Bear, overstaying a bit as well. Forced to flash and Stormbringer out, but Golden Sunset is still giving chase with this Ghost. Threaded volleys coming on through, and now Pens, no flash, falling dangerously low, and a flash spear from Foe 88 is going to pick that one up. Pens claims the ward gold. Hashtag worth. You tell him, boss. This Kappachungus squad is playing exactly how they need to right now. They're playing together as a unit. They're walking around using their globals to cover for each other. And by playing in this unit, been able to get picks and now pick up that tower. As one-handed gaming, though, is still very strong in this side lane 1v1. Subjugate comes down. Teemos Kuchi trying to get out, but is not going to be able to do so as that Ice Pillar comes on out, slows down the Shen. And so all Teemos Kuchi gets is a Heartsteel stack for his troubles. This Trundle is going to be a problem for Kappachungus. He is running the side lane. Enchanted Crystal Arrow is going to miss in the bot lane. But with Golden Sunset roaming down, it's going to be able to safely farm up the rest of that wave. We'll have to see if this Ashe and Talia are able to put enough damage into this Trundle to turn the fights. You know, Trundle is a bit squishy, needs to subjugate for most of those tanky resistances. A stun comes through onto Pha 88. Golden Sunset showing face as well. Back in the mid lane. Going back to normal lane assignments here, but the 1-3-1 of Caster Curse is just so much stronger. Crosis was able to get ahead on the Echo, and One-Handed Gaming more than ahead on the Trundle. We'll see if KCD are able to force anything in the mid lane. Looks like they're trying right now. Grand Starfall comes through, and it will be another kill onto Pens. This Braum is turning out to be quite breakable. I mentioned in draft, a lot of this Braum tankiness comes from the Unbreakable Will, and there's not too much projectiles that you're really blocking here. It's just the Ashe. I think it was a combo picked for the Lucian, and we've seen it bear some fruit. Those 3 assists have been crucial, mostly popping the passive and getting his team set up for success by buying time with those stuns. One-Handed Game and just going to march in the mid lane, pick up that dragon. So coming up on 20 minutes in here, we're pretty much even in kills. But thanks to these CS leads that One-Handed Gaming has been able to build up for himself and the tower game, Caster Curse has found themselves in quite a big lead. Yeah, almost all this gold lead, that 3,000 gold lead, is on the Trundle. Jungle's relatively even. Mid's relatively even. AD and bot are dead even as well. As Global is coming on through, Weaver's wall forward, but this Trundle is level 14, and he is whacking away with that club. Giving chase to Pilk now, too, and Flash Chomp onto Pha 88 is now going to waddle on out. Timos Kuchi going to try to answer back, but the taunt falls a bit short. Plick trying to save him as well. And while all this is happening, Caster Curse is on the Otacon. One-Handed Gaming. Global taunt there, forcing the Globals out. 5 members of Kappachungus showing up in the top lane, but One-Handed Gaming, nah, I'd win. He comes out on top, flashing forward with a massive chomp onto the Pantheon, and able to just walk out of that thanks to a well-placed Ice Pillar. Now, level 15 to level 12 of the Shen. He's going to continue to run this side lane. I don't know who is stopping this Trundle. And the whole time, Caster Curse are playing well around their significantly stronger side lane, getting themselves set up with some objectives. And all Kappachungus are doing is trying to answer where they can with waves. Crosis engaging on the mid lane, but great polymorph prevents the parallel convergence from hitting. Glacial Fissure falling a bit short as well. Campbell forced to flash out after Crosis converges back in. So ultimately a trade of a few summoners back and forth. Golden Sunset did lose the Ghost in the midst of all that. Crosis with no flash though. We'll see how that affects things in, I'm sure to be as a coming fight eventually, as Kappachungus need to make something happen quickly before this side lane situation gets too out of hand. Crosis just clearing out the mid wave by himself. Campbell sitting with Golden Sunset. That's exactly what I want to see out of this bot lane. You know, Kappachungus has had success in this game, in this comp, by playing together. And they have a weaker side lane, but I really want you to see you almost set up a bait situation where you throw Pilk into the side lane. And then you know you have the Stand United, you know you have the Grand Starfall. Maybe you can make things happen with that. If that's not your avenue of attack, if you don't want to attack through the mid lane, through the side lanes, then you look in the mid lane. Maybe wait for Big Sexpert to overextend, looking for some culling chip damage, and then bring on in the Globals. But the Globals are going to be the start of fights for Kappachungus. That's really the easiest way for them to win fights when you find yourself 4K gold down. Looks like the call is going to be to try to pick off this Trundle, but One-Handed Gaming, much wiser than that. Playing smart, letting his team get the waves push before he himself walks up for more minions. And now Pilk on this side lane. Gonna force Croesus off as well. It's a pretty defensive setup for Kappachungus. Not giving anything too much, just sitting on back. And that's going to be in the favor of Caster Curse. You know, they're okay pushing in these waves. They're just waiting for objectives to spawn. They have 2.5 minutes on that Drake, but 50 seconds on that Baron means things may break out a little sooner than that. Wouldn't want to give this Baron over to what has been a menace in the side lane of the Trundle. 3 items now, has the Hull Breaker. 3-1 items. Teemo's Gucci is not having a good time. Gucci is getting blasted. No, I need to see more defensive taunts out from Teemo's Gucci. Can't do anything to clear this wave in the face of the Trundle. And Kappachungus, no one around on the team to help, despite the fact that they got the waves push. You need to make something happen here before it gets a little too late. We'll see where they decide to make their stand. There's Ashe, 5-1 and 3. Does have the last Whisper, so that will help a bit of tank shredding. They spot one-handed gaming on the red buff. Enchanted Crystal Arrow comes through. Bunch of slows. Grand Starfall as well does catch out one-handed gaming. The chain CC comes through, and Fa88 is going to pick up that shutdown. In the meantime, though, Caster Curse have turned their eyes towards the Baron, and they are shredding this. 7K already. I don't think Kappachungus are going to be able to make it here in time, so they do get the one pick, do make it happen, but a great response on the other side from Caster Curse as this Baron goes their way 25.5 minutes in. Croesus with some zoning to help make it happen, forcing the flash out from Pilk as well. So now Drake and 50. Crucially, though, I'm glad I saw KCD make a move. Because now this Trundle, despite the fact that you're dealing with this Baron, this Trundle doesn't have the Baron. And because you've been playing so defensively, I think you're okay still wave clearing through that. One thing about a Lucian Echo carry threat is it's not great at sieging. So you should be able to turtle up unless you want to take this dragon fight and make another stand here. 5k gold deficit, but most of that is still due to Trundle. Yeah, 6k gold lead on the Trundle. So every other member is pretty even. If there's a pick that can kind of come through for KCD, they're very much in this. And they have first setup here. Trundle going to the top lane does have the TP, though, so keep an eye out for a potential 5v5 breaking out here on this dragon and what is going to be a crucial, likely game-deciding fight. Pens warding on forward, looking to make the advance, as Etrium also poking his head in the area. But the call is going to be to give it up. Parallel Convergence throws down, forces Golden Sunset to flash out, who finds himself in the back of this pit, a little bit caught out. One-handed gaming is not TPing in, so that is 2 kills over to the side of Kappachungus. And now a defensive TP coming through from Teemo's Gucci to prevent one-handed gaming from getting any more. So 1 inhib lost, but 2 kills picked up for Kappachungus, as well as the Dragon. These two teams putting on some great cross-map plays as more answers. This Caster Curse squad has just been roaming around, picking up tower after tower. And when Kappachungus can get a fight off as a group, it has been working wonders for them. Play together with the unit very well. They've been able to peel off this backline dive of Croesus and Etrium. We saw it there with the Polymorph, with Golden Sunsets kiting. Flashes out of the Parallel Convergence and just peppers in those arrows. Talia and Pantheon damage over top as well. 3 items in for this Ashe. 2.5 in for the Talia. The carries are starting to get a bit scary for KCD. You know, you like to think they probably have enough damage to throw some threat onto Trundle now, who is not building too tanky. Only real tanky item is the Thornmail, so it'd be a bit less of a threat in the side lane if Kappachungus can create answers. 15 more seconds on the Baron. Nothing more going to happen in that. This Croesus poking face in the bottom lane. This is the point of the game where you take a look at that Echo Ignite and you're starting to wonder, did we do enough in the early game? When you play this 1-3, especially playing the 1-3-1, You know, it's a great advantage to have that TP to make side lane plays, and even more so when you're dealing against 3 globals. So it has to play relatively safe, and, you know, we've seen mostly a 4-1 come through. As Grand Starfall coming down onto Croesus, who does have the flash, but the stun coming in from Golden Sunset. These enchanted crystal arrows have been on the mark, working together with Fa88 and Campbell. But in the meantime, this has been the story of the whole game. A pick on one side of the map and Caster Curse answering back on the other. We'll see if Kappachungus tries to fight back, though, as Etrium finds himself a bit caught out by the Pantheon Sun. Golden Sunset hitting for free in the backline, and one-handed gaming, 1 versus 2 in the backline of Kappachungus. It is a exchange of backlines here as Golden Sunset giving chase. Threaded volley comes through. Timo's Kuchi short on the stun means one-handed gaming is able to walk out. And when all is said and done, a 3-for-1 once again kills in favor of Kappachungus, but objectives much in the favor of Caster Curse. Playing the map beautifully here. Despite the global disadvantage, when Kappachungus makes a move, Caster Curse has responded in kind, in more than kind, in phenomenal generosity. And that is how they've gotten these 2 inhibs that are really going to make this squad of Kappachungus turtle even more. And we are, the way things are shaping up with only 2 dragons apiece, I think we are shaping up for quite a long one here. Expect this one to go maybe another 10 minutes, unless a significant Baron push happens. 7-1-7 Golden Sunset on this Ashe. Big Sexpert has been hitting very well in these backlines as well. Is Campbell going to poke his head in? Fine Croesus taking the red buff, but isn't going to be able to do too much about that with one-handed gaming in the area. Though they do call it off, though. Too much Fog of War to really commit any further. Defensive setup remains for Kappachungus, so until this Baron comes up, 40 seconds here, I think Caster Curse can't do too much to really threaten the siege. Talia's now at an okay spot to respond to the pushes of the Trundle, even despite the Hull Breaker. Love what I'm seeing out of Kappachungus. This 3-man squad has been keeping them in it. There's a reason Golden Sunset and Campbell have 14 of the 16 KP. Clearing out wards, setting up wards for what they know is the next major objective in this Baron. Dragon spawning in 22 as well. See where Caster Curse kind of decide to plant their feet, as they do have the agency here. Look at the lanes all pushing in. You have mid and top pushing in from the inhibs, and one-handed gaming pushing in that bottom lane. Going to get a 3rd inhib for this Caster Curse side. This Pilk 2 levels down can do nothing but watch and just give him a little tickle. Call is going to be to start the Baron here for Kappachungus as Golden Sunset getting dived on, but a flash stun is going to burn him. Golden Sunset able to flash out. In comes the Stand United. Taunt in the backline. Golden Sunset is free hitting Big Sexpert on the backline. Can he answer back? Dashes on forward. Takes down the Ashe. Is there going to be enough damage now for the side of Kappachungus? It doesn't look like it as Fa taunts forward onto Big Sexpert. Is not going to be enough. Big Sexpert barely falling to the Thornmail passive, but all the while one-handed gaming in the backline. He has run this game the whole time. He was able to kill the Talia on the other side of the map. And once again, action on one side, objectives on the other. Caster Curse take game 1 behind a wonderful performance out of one-handed gaming. Great game 1 there. As one-handed gaming, top in the damage charts for his team. Definitely not top in the damage charts for the game, though, as Golden Sunset took that title. Almost 30k. Not too much actual team fights this game, which is why you may not see that much damage numbers coming in. But great macro play out of Caster Curse. Able to get some early advantages thanks to some superior laning out of the side laners of their squad. And then from there, Kappachungus answering back. Golden Sunset and Campbell turning around that dive in the bottom lane, kept things very close, kept them in it, and started to bring Fa88 back in the game. And they were winning those team fights. Only problem with that is one-handed gaming really wasn't in the area for those team fights, because this man was split pushing using that glove, whacking away at the towers without a care in the world, letting his team fall on the other side of the map while he he was the reason towers were falling. And that was the story of the whole game, really. I mean, you had multiple fights on one side of the map leading to towers falling on the other, then inhibs falling on the other, and then eventually the Nexus as Shen had to stand united away from Pilk, leaving the Talia and that Trundle in the 1v1, and one-handed gaming when it matters most, able to come out on top in that 1v1, had that significant gold lead, march down, take the towers, and bring his team a game one victory in what was a very close back and forth game, which it looked like Kappachungus may have been coming back into. Once again, this is a best of 3. We will have at least one more game of this action. It is Fearless as well. So we're going to have to see Crosis and One-Handed Gaming on something different, as those are their mains and their comfort picks. Gotta wait just a second here. So that got us into the lobby as well. It looks like KCD opting to stay the same side here. Taking blue side again. Going for the run back. You know, I like their early game power picks, I will say, and they did their job with the globals. I think it's a much different game if One-Handed Gaming isn't able to accelerate himself so much on that Trundle, and if Kappachungus are able to get a bit more done in the mid game using those globals proactively. As when we get a Kappachungus loss, so it's Caster Curse up 1-0. It's a pretty close one. Is it the same draft link? Oh, it is. Perfect. Works out well. I am going to run to the restroom real quick. I will be right back in like 2 minutes. See if the teams start drafting in the meantime. Hey, Golgaiath. Sorry, guys, I'm back. Just had to run to the restroom real quick. Um, there was a pretty short turnaround between games 1 and 2, which is great for pretty much everyone. Just not quite for my bladder, so find a little bit of time. Rather miss a little bit of draft than a little bit of game. So we are back in it. So taking a look at draft here. So Caster Curse is up 1-0, and Kappachungus opted to run it back on the blue side. Going for an 80 carry first pick. Jin, pretty safe first pick. I like that. Just that same thing as like Golden Sunset has been the high performer of Kappachungus in the 3 games we've seen from them so far. So I really want to make sure he is set up and put himself in a spot to carry. Yeah, Rayman, I'll do what I can to relieve the crowd here of my whatever punishment you feel is fit. I will see to that. So Jin coming in for Golden Sunset. Xayah is the answer on the side of Big Sexbird. And an Ivern to pair up with that as well. Interesting look in the jungle for the side of Caster Curse. Bit opposite from what we saw last game in the Volley Bear, something that had a bit more agency. And Kappachungus responding with a Jarvan into the Ivern and a Hwei. So looking to play for that team fight again, setting themselves up well for a pretty simple mid-game, late-game kind of wombo combo there, as Jarvan Cataclysm's going to come in and the Hwei ult should be easy follow-up onto that. So despite the Xayah being an anti-dive champ, unless she has flash, playing Xayah into the Jarvan dive isn't necessarily easily navigatable. And a Nico coming through for Caster Curse. Very likely support. So we'll see how that is able to kind of make engages happen, as this Nico is going to be quite outranged as well. It's going to be Nico mid. Never mind then. So Thresh Xayah in the bottom lane. This is going to open the way for some sort of engage support for Campbell. I'd like to see something that wins into Thresh, you know, something like a Nautilus, something like an Alistar. Help commit to this little wombo combo team fight setup you got and build space for your Jhin. See what Teemo's Coochie opts for as well. Expecting like a tank in the top lane of some sort. Seems to be what he's comfortable on. And most importantly, you want it to be something you're okay with blind, as we saw One-Handed Gaming really run over that game. Game 1 in the Trundle. Granted, Trundle's a very specific type of pick, so not sure if we're going to see that again, but I want to see Teemo's Coochie on something you know he can at least stay even on. Yorick would be something that's great for that, as with the Maiden is always going to have some sort of option in terms of playing side lane, which was not really the case in the last game. So it's going to be Ivern, Nico, Thresh, jungle mid support there. It's kind of an interesting setup from Caster Curse. I'm not sure if I like the way those champions really play off each other. When you draft the Ivern, you want to be drafting bruiser champions that want to be in the thick of things. You know, something support-wise like a Leona. Mid lane-wise, you know, Yone, Silas, something that really wants to be in there. And I wouldn't be surprised if Crosis plays those just based off his Echo history. But with the Nico and the Thresh, those are champions that are not going to be really in the thick of things, at least in the early game, too much. So the way this Ivern is going to play is it's likely going to be mostly through the Renekton, which is a great angle as well for Caster Curse. We saw what One-Handed Gaming was able to do in the last game. We'll see if he's able to replicate a similar dominant performance. Otherwise, once again, I'm a big fan of Kappachungus' draft on paper. Jhin, Alistar, it's going to be relatively easy, even into the Xayah Thresh. If Thresh can hit some heroics onto the Jhin, then Caster Curse may be able to come out on top on that side. But both AD carries are going to be looking to scale, get a few items before they really start to duel each other. And then mid jungle wise, I haven't seen Nico mid in a while. Just the way her kit works, that hasn't really been something we see. It's just more higher base damage, easier to pull out in the support role. But Hui is going to outrange that Nico just a bit. We saw Crosis navigate, being outranged in a matchup, though, plenty fine in game one. So expect that mid lane matchup to go relatively even, and then a lot of this game will be up to the junglers, especially mostly in the early game. What can Jarvan get done early to start accelerating his lanes? You have great follow-up on all these lanes, great gank ability. Alistar combo, Jhin Deadly Flourish, Hui Fear, even Yorick Cage. And on the other side, Ivern is also in a similar situation when you have Thresh Hook, Nico Snare, Renekton Stun, Xayah Root. I mean, there's tons of CC on both sides. So it'll be a matter of how these junglers are kind of able to capitalize on that and make good for their teams. Just a reminder for everyone, going to be sitting through the client draft as they, redo this, mimic the picks. Ban stayed the same pretty much from last game, at least in round one. Taking away the Amumu, Karma, Cass on KCD's side, and then Trist, Sejuani, and Vi on Caster Curse's side. Now, that's one of Golden Sunset's top picks, so forcing this kind of more star 80 carry on something a bit utility based. See what Fa88 is able to do on this Jarvan as well. Great performance on the Pantheon. Would have liked to see maybe a little more done early, but was able to get around the map with the Grand Starfall and make stuff happen for his teams. Was the driving force behind that in the mid to late game in game one. Struggles for Kappachungus last game came from the top lane. Timo's Kuchi going to be looking to bounce back against one-handed gaming on this Renekton. I think Yorick should be able to hold okay in that matchup. It's going to be slightly Renekton favored. So if Ivern visits, that could be trouble. That's what kind of kicked off problems in the last game for Kappachungus, is Caster Curse using their jungler, moving him around the map, looking for dives to create favorable situations. And obviously not quite as easy to do on something like the Ivern, but still plenty in the realms of possibilities. So a lot of even matchups all across the board. Gonna be up to kind of skill and execution here, which is, I'm sure, everyone's favorite type of game to watch, as it's all about hands, about how you play it. And I think hands definitely favored Caster Curse in the early game last time. We'll see if that changes and if fortune can fall on the side of Kappachungus this go around. Gonna be the 3-minute spectator delay. See, in the 3 games we've seen of Caster Curse, they've been able to pull ahead in the early games. And in this situation, they've set themselves up to do so again. Both teams drafting pretty explosive comps. They're looking to get in the thick of things and team fight. I think I'd expect Timo's Kuchi, who tends to be more of a team player. Despite being on the Yorick, you can play Yorick with the team. Set up yourself with ghouls, play as a strong little frontliner. So I think a lot more 5v5s this game rather than the side lane play. And Kappachungus was able to have the upper hand last time with that. We'll also see how Pens does on this Thresh. As an ex-Thresh main myself, that champion is just not in a phenomenal spot right now. you have to execute at a very high level to make it functional. A lot of other support champions offer similar kits for a lot less difficulty in ease of execution there. And, you know, in terms of targets, it's going to be tough to hook this Jhin and the Hui, who tend to operate from further away in team fights. And then in lane, too, I'm a fan of the Alistar into Thresh matchup. Some people think, you know, oh, Thresh can flay the Alistar. Unless, you know, you're consistently on like sub 5 ping and have played that matchup tons of times, that rarely happens. So Campbell should have the agency in that lane in terms of setting up combos. And then Jhin does outrange the Xayah a bit. I think Golden Sunset and Big Sexbird were matched up pretty evenly. We saw them going back and forth in those team fights and skirmishes in game 1. Both teams creating great space for their AD carries, playing around their AD carries very well. And both teams kind of drafting for their AD carries in this game as well. You know, you have Croesus on something like the Nico, which isn't quite as, you know, independent as the Echo that he's been piloting. But mostly the Ivern, as well as the Thresh Peel. Thresh going for Guardian and Heal, really trying to keep that Xayah alive. And with Golden Sunset going Cleanse, that's going to help keep him alive as well. We will get things sorted with scoreboard. And once again, Croesus just throwing down the gauntlet again. Ignite and Electrocute. I'm almost one, and Dark Seal refillable. I'm just wondering if he like defaulted by accident or something. Because this is like, Nico's not necessarily the champ that can snowball like that. People showing face. Penn's gonna connect the death sentence onto Foe, who falls dangerously low and down for first blood. So same sort of invade setup for Caster Curse, who find themselves off to another early game lead. And gold exactly where you want it on the Xayah. It's going to be able to back for a longsword here. I hope. You know, spend that gold. You got time. Oh, man. Should still have a little bit of time to get that done. Yeah, Croesus going once again for the Ignite and the Electrocutes and Dark Seal start. So really looking to snowball. You know, I kind of see the angle on the Echo there. It's a bit risky, but you're risking it for the biscuit. There's no biscuit here. It's just dried breadcrumbs. You're a Nico, you know. You can snowball, but I think Pilk should be able to navigate this lane easily enough. And with the TP advantage, that's going to start to show itself in the late game where you don't have as potent of a side lane. One-handed Gaming already pulling the wave, playing this minion game. Great top laner at doing that. You know, I mentioned the Alistar being a good pick into this bot lane. The one thing is Alistar level 1 is one of the weakest support bottom lanes in the game. So Big Sexbird and Pens will be comfortable at least early on here. Ward comes in through that bush. Campbell getting himself set up. Maybe look for an early combo. They're going to tick over to 2 here. Walk up and force some respectful backup of the Caster Curse bottom lane. Combo comes through. Pens does tick over to 2. Instant cleanse from Golden Sunset on the death sentence means it will be just a bit of trade of health bars, but losing that cleanse that early on could be potent should another hook end up connecting. Big Sexbird has angles to follow up with root collars. So Golden Sunset, got to keep an eye out for those death sentences. One-handed Gaming going in for an aggressive trade. Timo's Kuchi ticking over to 3. Able to fight back. This is good to see out of Timo's Kuchi. Definitely struggled in that counterpick matchup that the Trundle maybe threw him a loop for. And on this Yorick, so far able to hold his own, but Etrium kind of opting to play around these Tomp camps here and is looking to go in. Timo's Kuchi gets stunned up. I said this Ivern Renekton combo is potent. Renekton able to just stand on top of the Yorick. And this should be a kill. Going over to the Renekton. Nope, Etrium going to take it. Chain CC coming through on Pens, though, who falls dangerously low. Heal comes through. Ignite as well, but a flash forward from Golden Sunset to give chase. And 4 comes on in. A kill answered back for the side of KCD. And a flash forward from Campbell forces the flash out from Big Sexbird. Great work from the support of Kappachungus. Gets the initial combo onto Pens, who flashes and heals out just a bit too late. I think that heal came down during the Ignite. So Ignite cuts healing by, what, 30%? 40%. And so that heal wasn't as potent. And from there, Golden Sunset able to flash force shot to get that kill. And now with a Dirk on the way back to lane is going to be sitting comfortably. And, you know, despite Yorick falling down, Timo's Kuchi has been holding his own as farm, so doing okay in this matchup so far. As I say that, one-handed gaming going in aggressively for a trade, and Kuchi falling quite low here. In the mid lane, Crosis hasn't been doing too much yet. It is an early game Nico, but Ignite comes on through. Not going to be enough though, as Pill, no, it will be enough. 1 for 1 in the mid lane, but a 1 for 0 in the top lane for Caster Curse. Take a look back at how that top lane solo kill happened. We TP in. We saw that initial trade going back and forth. And I think one-handed gaming, Timo's Kuchi is just a bit too low to be walking up here. Flash, slice, stun, kill. And a 1 for 1 in the mid lane. Crucially, Crosis getting that kill with the Ignite after he falls, so still gets a few Darksteel stacks, but this mid laner is spicy, man. He takes the Ignite, throws down the Gauntlet. With Pilk having the TP, though, I think he's going to be all right with that trade. Still has flashes up on both mid laners as well. So action-packed early game yet again. Caster Curse claiming the feat of Warfare. But this bottom lane is still going to be pretty strong for the side of Kappachungus. Pens with a great little predict on the Hex Flash there. Chunks Campbell quite a bit with the help of BSB. Level 6 on the Renekton, though, is going to look to turn this around. Timo's Kuchi falling dangerously low, is not able to flash out far enough. 2 levels down on that Renekton. And one-handed gaming. See you later, Alligator. Second kill on this Renekton as Timo Kuchi falls down to 0-3. This guy is getting his Kuchi'd. Combo in onto Big Sexbird. Lantern comes through as well. Golden Sexbird trying to trade back. Golden Sunset, excuse me. 4-shot going through onto Pens. So ultimately, not too much there, as the all-ins just don't have enough damage on either side at this point in time. Atrium poking face around the dragon, trying to make something happen. Maybe looking for an invade here, as Foe has definitely had this Jarvan's number. Combo in the bottom lane, though, again. Said this Thresh is so tough to navigate, especially into something like the Alistar. And Golden Sunset picking up kill number 2. Getting primed for another carry performance here on the Jhin. Etrium showing face in the top lane as well. Timo's Kuchi has no flash, but the Ivern root, the root collar. What is the blade collar and root collar? Not going to come out. Nico ult in the mid lane, though. He's going to force Pilk to flash out. This is ulti of his own. Fuh picking up the dragon in the meantime. So lots of action happening all across the map. It can be tough to follow. Directed camera can only keep us in so many spots at so many times. But we are 7 minutes in and a lot more even than last game. I think this is a great look for the side of Kappachungus, who I favor the scaling on. But as I say that, one-handed gaming going in for another solo kill, just walks up, pops the Dominus, gets the empowered stun, and then slices his way on out. Timo's Kuchi has just been getting rolled in these 2 games here. 0-4 on this Yorick. Gonna need some help into this Renekton. Kappachungus not necessarily opting to swap or anything, but not necessarily in a comfortable spot of their own. As now Timo's Kuchi, man's got to farm up. He is 3 levels down. May need to call Foe over for some help. Renekton way ahead of the curve of this game. 3 levels up. 3,400 gold already. So yeah, once again, the Caster Curse gold lead can mostly be attributed to their top laner. One-Handed Gaming has been putting in work. We'll see if Golden Sunset and Campbell are able to kind of have an answer back of their own. Thresh roaming up towards the Grubs alongside the Ivern, who takes these Grubs very slowly. Could be trouble for Caster Curse here. Teemos Kuchi is going to spot that out. One-Handed Gaming show in phase 2. In comes the Maiden, who's going to start to suck away at some of these people, and in comes Daisy. So 4 versus quote-unquote 4 versus quote-unquote 2 will be enough. It's Campbell looking for the dive. Does have level 6 on that Alistar. They should just pull the trigger here. Pop the ulti, at least for something, but they decide they're going to play it safe, opt on out. They know Xayah has the Feather Storm, so don't want to push it too much. As this Alistar does combo in now. Golden Sunset walking on up, getting an auto in, getting the Deadly Flourish stun as well for a bit more damage, and in comes the Jhin ulti. Pens now is in the area though. Barrier and heal coming down from Big Sexpert. Still has the Feather Storm, but doesn't quite use it in time. Unbreakable Will from Campbell under tower is going to keep him alive for now. Last tower shot is barely not enough. In comes Croesus trying to clean it up, and Fa in the area too. This tower is fully stacked up, so that will help Caster Curse come out of the end of that one with a 1-for-1. Croesus roaming down though, and Pilk pushing in the wave. Able to punish that roam just a bit. BSB just not quite able to use that flash, use that Xayah ulti amidst the burst damage of Fa 88 in that Cataclysm. Set up well from an earlier kind of trade in the bottom lane. And Pens just being late to the play as Caster Curse made the call to go for Grubs, which I do like. Only got 2 though, notably. Kappachungus able to steal away one of those, so a bit less side lane kind of pressure. Saw 3 Grubs go over to the Trundle of Caster Curse in last game, so hopefully this helps Teemos Kuchi kind of stand his own. You know, he may only be 10 CS down, but 2 levels down and, you know, probably close to 2,000 gold down here at 1.5. As Ivern is going to continue to play to this top side. It's the easiest lane for Ivern to play into. Easy person to shield. One-Handed Gaming pushing the wave in, and we'll see if a dive is able to come through. No one really in the area to help out Teemos Kuchi, but is going to be able to clear the wave relatively safe. One-Handed Gaming has gotten this tower 1.5 plates already. Campbell playing in the bot side. Pens with no flash is going to be collapsed on by the squad of Fa and Golden Sunset. And another combo from Campbell sets up his 80 carry with another kill. Dragon in 40 as well. Could be something that KCD look for as a win con. Try to stave off the pressure that One-Handed Gaming has been able to draw. Flash on forward into Croesus, who tries to pop Blossom to trade it back. Does catch 2 into a 2-man Blade Caller from Big Sexbird. Now Atrium caught a bit out as Golden Sunset trying to hit back, but standing in the front of Daisy. And Campbell falling low as well. Headbutting Atrium on back. Featherstorm pop on the top side of our screen from Big Sexbird, who flashes out of the Hui ulti. But Golden Sunset sniping Atrium on the backside as well. Pens respawning during all of that. Means an extended 2-for-2. Hook connecting onto Pilk, not going to be enough. Deadly Flourish misses just short, and now Pilk giving chase to the flashless Pens. This Thresh falling a bit low. CC comes through as well. Golden Sunset gonna flash forward for the 4th shot. Picking up kill number 6 now. Pens struggling a bit on this Thresh to make stuff happen. It's a very tough pick to make work. This top laner, certainly a bright spot of the Caster Curse squad. As, you know, Pen struggles on the Thresh. May not be as bad as Teemos Kuchi struggles on the Yorick here. One-Handed Gaming with a solo kill in the top side during all that. We can take a look at how that happened. I imagine it was just another Dominus pop dive. Yep, slicing forward, dicing out after landing the stun. And now Golden Sunset gonna switch over, cover the mid lane here, and let Hui take over the bottom lane. Catch ourselves back up to live. Teemos Kuchi is going to be able to get a bit of gold back. One-Handed Gaming staying a while to help usher in those minions and help get that tower. So this will be useful for Teemo's Cooch. He does have the Demolish, does have this Maiden. This is the power of the side lane Yorick. You know, it will eventually scale if given enough time. It's just a matter of if One-Handed Gaming has set himself up to be too far ahead for that to even happen. Combo coming in the top lane as a 3-man squad going in onto this level 11 Renekton, who is just going to be able to slice out. Once again, One-Handed Gaming, a menace on the side lane. Imagine this guy with 2 hands. But another combo coming through. Campbell is forced to use the Unbreakable Will, and this time it'll be enough. Not even the shutdown, though, as Fa88 forced to use the Cataclysm in that 3-man squad. Put in quite a bit of work to get that kill as Pilk trading forward with Kroos on the backside, who flashes forward over the Hui ulti, forces the flash out from Pilk as well, and not enough range to give chase to this Hui. I think this is kind of the interesting part of the Nico mid pick. You know, you can hold your own side lane in terms of wave clear as that Lantern brings Big Sexbird out of the curtain call. You can hold your own in the side lane, but when you run this Ignite, you throw down the gauntlet, and Nico's not the champion to really get those 1v1 kills. So again, it didn't matter last game, and it hasn't mattered yet, but as the game gets later, I'm a bit curious to see how having Ignite instead of TP is going to affect the side lane play, you know? Especially with One-Handed Gaming playing to the side lane so strong, and Kappachungus having a stronger kind of 4-man squad here. Campbell with another combo. Penn's caught out again. Follow-up damage coming through as Golden Sunset is looking to pick up a 7th kill here. But Penn's, that flash just coming up in time. And now Pilk looking for a kill on Necrosis. No flash from earlier. The clone comes through, and he's just going to be able to auto this Nico down. As I say that, though, Pilk falls for the clone bait, the classic. And now Crosis is running for the hills. The eye doesn't quite reach him, and the root comes on through. Crosis, though, not able to dodge out of the tower shot. And that will be a solo kill back for the mid laner of Kappachungus. Pilk answering back into this Nico. Zooming out, bigger picture here. Kappachungus is looking primed to force a game 3 here. They just picked up the Rift Herald. They just picked up that bottom lane tower. Ultimately, despite this Renekton having a significant lead, the other 4 members of Caster Curse are not in a strong spot like they were last time. They don't have the same level of agency. And most importantly, they don't have the same lead that they did. Golden Sunset, Campbell, Fa, Pilk. Really every member of Kappachungus has had the better of their counterpart in this game too here. Solo kills in the bot lane, Fa being more active on the map, making stuff happen. Campbell trying to hit the drift is going to fall a bit short, but the Deadly Flourish root is going to be enough anyway. And the Rift Herald will charge. This Golden Sunset being the benefactor of yet more great rotations from this Alistar. See this bottom lane of Campbell Sunset. They have been running how this KCD squad wants to play. So that's been very good to see as eyes turn towards this third Drake just 17 minutes in. Soul point for KCD. Like I said, just zooming out big picture, they are in a much better spot. Renekton into this Yorick doesn't quite have the same side lane pressure. So despite that big, 2,500 gold lead, 1,500, excuse me, almost 2K. He's not going to be able to deliver the same amount of pressure, especially when around the map, his team is getting pushed in as well. This Nico doesn't have side lane pressure onto the Hui. We already kind of saw that earlier with Pilk getting the better of the Nico. And then Pens has just fallen a bit too far behind to really step up and contest Golden Sunset on these waves. In the meantime, Ivern is one of those champions that's just more of a passive character to begin with. So there's not much that Etrium is able to do without his team being ahead. You know, try to play around the Renekton, which it looks like they're doing now. Setting up a play onto Pha88. One-handed gaming pops the Dominus, slicing on forward, but is going to be head-butted on out. And now Curtain Call comes through to just create a little more space as Hook onto Campbell, who pops the Unbreakable Will, and now they're just looking to kite out this Renekton. As Hui is staying in the bottom lane, Croesus roamed up, and that will be the end of that little exchange. So Jarvan flash forced, which is nice. Alistar ulti forced, which is also nice. Maybe sending Caster Curse up to turn the next fight in their favor if they can get this started shortly before those cooldowns get back up. Expect the game to kind of slow down a little bit more as Dragon not spawning for a little over 3 minutes here. It's going to be KCD's next angle of attack, and they should be comfortable sitting back and scaling. So, especially if they get that Ocean Soul, which they're plenty primed to do. It's one-handed gaming slicing on forward, but Golden Sunset and Campbell are roaming towards this top lane as well, and Pha88 is in the area. Deadly Flourish connects. In is going to come the Chain CC as Headbutt, Jarvan Flag, and a little bit of Yorick damage helps Golden Sunset get set up for the 8th kill there. Gonna try to cross-map our Caster Curse, but like I said, they're just not in the same spot they were last time. You know, Teemo's Kuchi has this TP available, and there's just not as much damage, so this Otacon can't be taken in time. Two-man root onto the jungle support of KCD, but they're easily able to usher Caster Curse off of that Otacon and let Teemo's Kuchi get a little more gold back here on the Yorick, who picks up a tower on his own there without Renekton to respawn. Croesus with no TP, you know, going to be a lot slower on these rotations. And Teemo's Kuchi, this Yorick, you know, no matter how far behind, is always going to have some sort of side lane damage threat. Has the Triforce, has more. Flash combo from Campbell after the Fierce gets set up from Pilk. Going to be an answer on the top side from One-Handed Gaming, who with the Stride Breaker, with the Eclipse, is going to pick up a 5th kill of his own. But that will be enough for KCD to turn their eyes towards the Otacon. Once again, great cross map though from Caster Curse. They get a kill in the top lane, and they're looking in the mid lane here to really put on more pressure, forcing the TP out from Pilk to help avoid too much going down there. Pilk also going to answer in the top lane, help keep that tower alive as well. We'll see what the avenue of attack is, and now we have less than 1 minute on potential soul for Kappachungus. The time is ticking for Caster Curse as Campbell is starting to get the setup alongside Pha around this dragon area. 2-man knockup into 2-man flag and drag, but it's just on to Croesus, who is forced to plot blossom. Flashes out of the Jarvan Cataclysm. Curtain Call comes through over top. We'll see if Pha is able to kind of make his way out of this. They need the jungler if they're going to play around this Drake, as Renekton's in the area as well, but Pilk TPing down. Penn's flashing over the wall, and in comes One-Handed Gaming, forces the cleanse out of Golden Sunset, and they're trying to kite out this Renekton. Are going to be able to do so. Campbell with the Unbreakable is able to stay alive. Foe flashes on in, and in comes Campbell with another combo, forces Big Sexpert on out. Pha in with another flag and drag. They are diving over top, and the artillery support from Pilk and Golden Sunset is going to be enough. Teemo's Kuchi this whole time just free hitting on the top side, and that looks like it will be Soul for the side of Kappachungus, winning the 4 versus 5 thanks to just some well-timed kiting out and engages on the side of Campbell and Pha. Etrium going to try to look to pick up this Drake, stave his team off from what is almost certain to be condemnation of this game. It's Teemo's Kuchi picking up a tower on the top side, and that will be Soul going over to the side of Kappachungus as they pick up more objectives here. Caster Curse struggling to really make anything happen. You know, you have the lead on your Renekton here, but nowhere else. And we see how Golden Sunset is kind of just able to sit in the middle of the Renekton, who's not this crazy backline threat. And alongside his Alistar, his Hui, his Jarvan all peeling for him. Able to stay alive. The Hui is going to be able to get some damage on through as Golden Sunset trading a bit aggressively here. Flash forced out from Crosus, who was disguised as a minion that entire time. Big Sexbird. Not going to be able to do too much on this Desire. You know, hasn't really... Caster Curse has been playing in the top side as Pens. Looks like he's caught out yet again. Combo comes on through. That Thresh is going to fall. Trying to get some deep wards before that Baron spawns in 30. So that's an understandable death. Just maybe a bit too overextended in that regard. And Teemo's Coochie now is able to maybe hold his own against the Renekton as Fa88 going in for the combo. Does fall a bit short on the flag and drag. Maiden's going to get chunked down by the Renekton. Yeah, Teemo's Coochie, you know, you take a look, able to hold the side lane now, and that's exactly what you need out of your Yorick when you have this massive lead everywhere else. You know, let your team usher in these waves, get advantages elsewhere. That's something Caster Curse did greatly in the last game. And with this Baron up, just 25 minutes in, KCD is going to look to accelerate this game even further. Some fighting in the bot lane with the Ocean Soul. Teemo's Coochie going to be pretty comfortable healing on up through that. It looks like the call for Caster Curse is just going to be to try to get some gold on the other side of the map. Not really contest. Etrium is already recalled. 3k on the Baron. That's going to be smited comfortably for Fa. And we'll see what the next avenue of attack is. In the bottom lane, a solo kill back for Teemo's Coochie from 0-6 to 1-6. That Yorick champion, it can do work if you let those maidens and ghouls suck on you. As Fa flashing on forward is going to be a bit out of range. Pen's doing his best to peel. Featherstorm is not going to be enough. Curtain call over the top. And with Baron here, KCD is going to look to continue to march this game in. Trying to take this series to the distance here. Behind their bottom lane, Golden Sunset and Campbell. Part of 18 of those 22 kills. Teemo's Coochie has side lane pressure as well. With the Baron buff, going to be even easier. Going to take a miracle out of the side of Caster Curse to turn this one around. And I just don't know if they have it in them, as Crosus may be looking for that angle. Channels up the pop Blossom, but gets his Blossom popped himself. Doesn't quite get it off in time. And Golden Sunset going to continue to march this one in. KCD playing on all three waves. This 1-3-1 is potent alongside the Baron buff. There's just not enough wave clear, especially with Nico down. Pilk gets the fear onto one-handed gaming, and the follow-up CC comes on through. One-handed gaming going to fall down. And you'd expect that to be it. Minions marching on forward. Big Sexbird trying to do what they can to clear out the waves. But a flash on forward from the members of KCD is not going to be enough. So 27 minutes in, 25-11 kills. KCD answer back in game 2 and take us to a game 3. Invite there, and once again these teams with just very quick turnaround. One to one in the series now. CLT called it earlier on. Big early season matchup. These two teams look very strong. Could be a crucial win for whoever comes out on top when we look forward to potential tiebreakers later on in the season. You know, the thing about a single form round of robin is every game counts. So you need to make sure you show up, and both teams have done so far. A lot of action happening out of the top lane for one-handed gaming and the side of Caster Curse. And on the other side for KCD, Golden Sunset and Campbell have had the better of BSB and Pens. Kind of a veteran Midwest bottom lane there. Really on both sides, I guess. But especially for Pens. Been struggling a bit. I'd maybe like to see a different angle out of Pens. Something that maybe sits back more with his team and plays to the strengths of his team as the games have been won. Let me make sure this isn't a different link. Yeah, we're good. Another quick turnaround. That's always nice. All right, the R's are coming through. So resuming my train of thought, I think Pens has been the clear struggle point for the side of Caster Curse. So eyes are going to be on him this third game and see how he opts to bounce back. You know, I'd like to see maybe a bit of a different pick, something that can just play a little safer, play behind his team, as his top jungle have been getting set up for success pretty well. Etrium playing around one-handed gaming very well. Crosus has been doing very well in the early games as well. I want to see something, you know, beyond a Nico, especially if you're going for the Ignite. You know, throw down the Gauntlet, go for an Assassin. We've seen this style work. You know, play your own style, let it happen. As Vi ban, is that no ban? I'd expect bans to be kind of mirrored evenly. But if you are Crosus, you know, play your own style. Don't be afraid to lock in the Assassins here. We've seen it work with Monk Mentality, the mid laner for the Sweat League champions, Femboys. As yeah, it will be the same. Vi Sejuani, I'd expect a Trist ban here. And Karma, Amumu, probably Cassiopeia to round things out as well. Yep, so same bans in this first phase. Nothing too shocking. First pick Azir out of Crosus. Very high skill ceiling champion there, and a Syndra is going to be the answer for Pilk. I've liked what I've seen out of the mid laner of KCD on these control mages. Has been able to really build space for his team when he goes even, stays stable, and Kappachungus can get these structured team fights. I think they're definitely favored, so I like the idea of drafting towards that. You know, have a more standard control mage, back that up with a skirmishing jungle, as we've seen Fa on the last two games has been able to always make stuff happen and always be in the thick of things. Rammus locked in for Caster Curse. That is very spicy. I want to make sure that ain't a misclick. Yeah, they lost the next one. They are sending it. So Etrium Keeping it a little more interesting on this side of things as Rammus going to be locked in, and this is an early Rammus pick as well, as there's not too much AD locked in on the side of KCD. Just as in Zone, you'd expect Golden Sunset to take something, but we'll see what KCD does to draft around this. As Poppy coming in, third pick here. Could be top, could be support. Another flex coming out of KCD. I'm liking what they're doing with their flex picks. Wouldn't surprise me if it's going either direction. I think I would like to see KCD save their top lane counter pick for Timo's Gucci. Try to set him up, put him in the most comfortable matchup that he can be in. As one-handed gaming has definitely been running over him these past two games. So that way you can pick something that can at least lane safely and maybe deal with gank safely, as that has been another part of the reason that one-handed gaming has gotten the better of the KCD top laner in this series so far. Galio, I'm expecting to be in the support role as well. Could be top lane, but I like having one-handed gaming on Caster Curse's side to be something that has a little more agency, something bruiserish, something that can fight back, as we have seen him gap Kuchi so far. Civ are going to be locked in for Golden Sunset. Late game hyper carry is going to be able to fare into the Rammus okay and really set up scaling for the KCD side into the Azir. Having the Syndra, having the Sivir is going to be helpful. A little Nasus hover on the side of Caster Curse. That could get a little spicy. We'll see what one-handed gaming wants to do here. He is going to be the Nasus locked in. So some spice coming out for the game 3. Rammus and Nasus on the side of Caster Curse. We'll see what one-handed gaming is able to do on this pick. I like the pick, depending on if KCD has an answer for it, but you want something that one-handed gaming is going to be able to carry on in the late game. And Renekton wasn't quite that. Nasus, if he can get stacked up, is going to be able to hold his own nicely there. Cho'Gath going to be the answer for the side of Kuchi. I like that pick too. Just set yourself up, put yourself on tank duty, try to enable your carries around you. As Pen's going to run to the restroom too. Looks like we're all taking a brief little break, so I'm going to go grab some water myself. As almost 2 hours of casting can start to affect the throat a bit. I'll be right back. Excuse me. I guess we are back. Wait for things to get kind of kicked off here. How's the T1 Gen G series going? I have to catch the highlights after this. That one's best of 5 versus his best of 3, so now we'll see how things last. Looks like we got ourselves a good series. Interesting, interesting. Alright, the R's are coming on through. Wait for Pez to come on back. Join his respective side.
If I want your opinion, I'll beat it out of you.
So taking a look at draft here, game 3. Winner takes it all. Caster Curse are keeping it spicy. Rammus and Nasus. Bunch of Shurima picks coming on through. The Freljord theme they had in game 1 worked out for them. We'll see about the Shurima style. Azir Syndra, classic mid lane matchup. It will be really interesting to see here if Crosus still takes Ignite, Electrocute, Darksteel start, doubling down on that. I'd like to see a TP come on through, as I think that fits better towards the style they're eventually looking to play. You know, playing around one-handed gaming on the Nasus, and then eventually a late game kind of carry front-to-back team fight here. But other than that, I'd expect mid lane to be pretty even. Crosus has had the number of names. Pilk's number in these first 2 games early on. I think part of that is due to the Ignite, due to the power picks he's taken with a few solo kills. But in this Azir Syndra matchup, I don't think we're necessarily going to see that result in any significant advantage. And then looking elsewhere, in the bottom lane, Poppy Sivir into Galio Kog'Maw. Sivir is always kind of just a snoozer of a lane. You draft that, you're looking to sit back and scale. So that will be a bit of a different look from KCD as well, as I feel like Fa has been playing with Campbell to really try to accelerate Golden Sunset. And, you know, Poppy is a great laning support, but I don't know how much they're actually going to be able to accomplish into Galio Kog'Maw. It'd be more so a misstep on either side, resulting in someone falling, rather than agency to punish on either side. I will give the slight edge to the Kog'Maw and the Galio. I think they'll have a bit more 2v2 kill pressure. We've seen Big Sexbird able to navigate his abilities and his positioning very well, despite what I have no issue in calling a bit of a more lackluster performance out of Pens. On the Galio, though, we'll see if he can bounce back. It's a bit of an easier pick to navigate than something like the Thresh. You know, play around your large AoE abilities, whether it be that heroic entrance, that Shield of Duran taunt. See what he's able to do there. But bot lane should be relatively stable. Top lane will be interesting too. I don't expect too much to go down. I think, you know, both top laners are looking to scale, and from what I've seen so far out of both of these top laners, One-Handed Gaming and Kuchi, Teemo's Kuchi hasn't really been able to lane into One-Handed Gaming. That Caster Curse top laner has had beautiful laning mechanics. He knows how to play around waves, knows how to pull it, and really delve himself into a CS advantage and set himself up for some Etrium ganks as well. And that's been the reason he's been able to accelerate his lead in these past few games. So I don't expect too much to happen there, barring maybe a Rammus gank. But, you know, on the Rammus here, Rammus Nasus, I don't know if they'll have enough damage to kill Cho'Gath early on. We'll see if maybe through just some nature of poking down and superior laning, one-handed gaming is able to set up Etrium to visit and actually results in a kill. This is a game I take a look at and I think, oh, we are looking to team fight on both sides here. You know, beefy front line on the side of Caster Curse. Rammus, Galio, Nasus. Galio is going to be able to heroic entrance on top of one-handed gaming diving in. And it'll be interesting to see what stops this Nasus. Really all that can stop it is straight damage. So if Nasus gets ahead, KCD are going to be in a bit of a scary spot. But if not, that Nasus should be squishy enough to die to a properly focused down, coordinated attack from the carries of KCD. So we'll see how things kind of go. Well, I do favor the front to back just a bit more on the side of Kappachungus. What we've seen out of them team fighting wise has been pretty impressive, especially with Golden Sunset and how he's been positioning and setting himself up for success there. And outside of that, I like, how Pha has been able to make stuff happen in the early game. But this Rammus may throw some bones into those plans. Game 3, baby. Hope it's not too late for anyone who opted to stay up. Should be in for a good one. These teams have drafted pretty evenly all 3 times here, and I don't think we're cooking too much based off what I've seen from the top side of Caster Curse so far. $50 more seconds on that spectator delay, and then we'll be into it. Spectator delay, and then we'll be into it. Spectator delay. Sorry for the echo there. Just making sure everything was good stream-wise. Eyes in the early game are going to be on both junglers. We'll see what Pha is going to be able to make happen. Has had the number of Etrium, I feel, overall. Game 1 was pretty tight, but with the Jarvan in Game 2, loved what he was doing around the map, and easier to do into something like the Ivern. And I think he's going to be in a similar situation here as well, where alongside, Campbell on this Poppy into a weaker clearing jungle of Rammus, should be able to farm up more comfortably, should be able to kind of create more action. See if there's any more level 1 situations happening here, as we've seen Caster Curse kind of set up by Raptor Pit on red side both games previously, but looks like both sides are going to 5 points. And way to stay in the bush. That's something Masu couldn't do. Prevents trouble, It's that easy, guys. Taking a look at Croesus. Love to see it. He's got TP, he's got Doran's Ring. No Dark Seal, no Ignite. So, a little less spicy out of our, flippin' mid laner, but I think it's definitely the call this go around. So, we'll see how that kind of changes the dynamics of how Caster Curse plays, too. We've seen them play through the side lane a bunch. I'm expecting them to do the same, especially when you draft this Nasus. You draft Galio to help support him. Penn's going for the exhaust, too. I don't think he needed the exhaust. I would have been okay with the Ignite. Even Spellbook meta, as tough as that is to kind of navigate sometimes. But your only really valid exhaust target is going to be the Xin Zhao. So unless, not saying it's a bad exhaust target, but picking a summoner spell that lets you roam around and play for lane a bit more would have been interesting. As Campbell going in for an early cheese does miss the stun though. Shield of Duran comes through from Pens, and a bit of traded damage traded back by the AD carries onto the supports on both sides. Push probably going to go the way of this Sivir. Just nature of the Sivir, you're able to easily get control of the wave with that boomerang blade with the ricochets. Shield of Duran taunt is going to catch onto Campbell. More damage, just lightly traded back. This bot lane looks like it's going to be the lane to watch early on here. Level 2 for Campbell, who heroic charges on forward and gets a bit more damage in, just tickling each other back and forth. And Teemo's Kuchi able to kind of build an early advantage in this top lane as well. But one-handed gaming on this Nasus isn't necessarily supposed to have the agency early on in this matchup. Stun connecting from Pilk, all things pretty stable. One thing I do want to note, both junglers are clearing down. Fa88 going to be a little bit ahead of the Rammus if both junglers are clearing optimally. Etrium is just a little ahead right now because he used the smite to help clear. Stun coming through in the bottom lane, onto Pens, into the wall, and with the ignite, Golden Sunset ticking. That is going to be enough. First blood coming through for KCD, and Pilk forced to flash out from Etrium rolling on up in the mid lane, getting Crosus a bit of an advantage. So it looks like early on here we are going to be shaping up for a similar story. Teemo's Kuchi trading aggressively in the top lane as well. But looks like we're going to be in for a similar story where the bot lane of Campbell and Sunset are able to just pick on Pens, and then Etrium going to try to get his solo laners ahead to start playing towards the side lane. Tale of two identities, team fighting versus kind of a side lane style. Etrium going to make his way towards the scuttle, but Fuzz going to be first. Doesn't have Smite though, so this could get a little interesting. One level down on the Rammus, but Etrium is going to back up. Recognizes the level disadvantage. Could mean trouble if he commits too heavily for that scuttle. And I do want to note, Teemo's Kuchi is still getting the shove in onto one-handed gaming for now. And Campbell in a good spot to trade on the bottom lane there as well. Pens and Big Sexpert are pushing up here. Another stun into the wall for Campbell as Shield of Duran comes through. Golden Sunset popping the ghost. Flash forward on the Steadfast Presence to deny Pens. And Big Sexpert is going to try to chase down Campbell for the kill, but he is going to fall for it. That kill is going to be gifted over to Fa, spreading the love a little bit for KCD. And the bottom lane led by Campbell again. This is what I said in game one. I like this guy on engage supports. I like to see him make stuff happen. On the Lulu, it's not necessarily as easy. Really not doable at all. Game two on the Alistar, comboing all over the map. And here, just catching Pens out of line. Teemo's Kuchi trading aggressively on a one-handed gaming, but the Wither is going to mean the end of that. One-handed gaming barely walking out of that rupture. But getting the stun on Pens, who has really been mispositioning all game. And then a beautiful use of the Poppy Steadfast Presence there, flashing in the way of the Justice Punch to prevent Pens from escaping. Grounding him, isn't able to flash out either. Setting up Golden Sunset for another carry performance. Exactly what you want to see out of this KCD bottom lane. As they continue to get the push over into Pens and BSB. Wave going to be continuing to be shoved in. CS is pretty even across the mark, but with the kill advantage, I believe this is the first time Feat of Warfare has gone over to Kappachungus. This may be the first early game I've seen Caster Curse not explicitly run away with. I think they did kind of opt into that, though. I'm not at all, calling that out as a negative. So you do have this Nasus. This Nasus is going to continue to scale. Cho'Gath is one of the easier characters to run down, especially with the Wither. So we'll see how one-handed gaming is able to accelerate, as we've seen him do many a times in past games. Get the cursor fixed. Teemo's Kuchi, though, on this Cho'Gath, though, still farming up fairly safely. I want to see him keep letting the wave bounce back to him. Nasus is going to be forced to do that just because he needs to stack up with the Q. And on the other side, Golden Sunset and Campbell maybe setting up a freeze to try to deny some CS from the bottom lane of Caster Curse. Mid lane, like we expected, relatively stable. Jungle, not too much happening, honestly. I think Pha could get more involved, but been a full clear from now. For now, we'll see how skirmishes start to break out. Interestingly enough, we do see a lane swap this game. BSB and Pens showing face in the top side, trying to get this Kog'Maw a little back in the game as they've not been able to walk up to the Sivir and the Poppy. I think I'm going to know it's going to be tougher to dive the Nasus than it is the Cho'Gath. Especially with the Cho'Gath already chunked. Rammus is on the top side here. We'll see what the call is for both teams, as with the recall of Golden Sunset and Campbell, it looks like it's just going to be a trade back, which I'm not necessarily a fan of now if you are Caster Curse, because you do have these grubs spawning. You know, playing for grubs is easier when you have your strong lane there, and your strong lane right now is Nasus. So swapping Nasus away from the grubs means maybe you won't be able to play for that anymore. Campbell going in a bit deep, getting chunked heavily. Great taunt from Pens, forcing some sort of punishment back from Campbell, who maybe got a bit overzealous there. And now 3 versus 3 in the top side. Looks like Caster Curse are starting up the grubs, but level 5 on this Rammus to level 6 on the Xin Zhao. Pha is going to have the advantage here. Rammus popping the W a bit early as well means he's going to lose this trade heavily. Pens trying to make space for his jungler, but Campbell shutting down the Justice Punch out. Fights on the opposite side of the screen. Etrium flashes forward back to try to get the grub, but it's not going to be enough. Flashes forward for Campbell and flashes out from Pens. Big Sexbird barely going to fall down, but is going to trade him back, and running forward with that Kog'Maw passive just a bit out of range of Campbell. Pens dangerously low as well, is going to get hammer time out of there. Oh my goodness. So more bot lane action. This time coming through in the top lane. One-handed gaming walking all the way up, but just a bit too late here. Way behind the play. 2 versus 1. This Nasus is not going to be able to do too much this early on. Is going to opt for the fight though. Crosis showing face now, forcing Pha and Pilk to back on up. But Golden Sunset's coming around the back. We'll see how long this fight really lasts. Crosis coming over the backside, but gets canceled by the Xin Zhao ult. 1-for-1 traded back and forth. Pilk able to unleash Wrath onto the Nasus. Cho'Gath Teemos Kuchi is hitting free this entire time as BSB gets stunned up as well. So what a sequence there coming out from both teams. Starts with the bottom lane and the jungle of both sides as Etrium, using that Rammus W early means he loses that 1v1 into Xin Zhao hard. Pens trying to buy space for his jungler. Able to flash out safely on the initial onset of the fight and let Big Sexbird kill down Golden Sunset. But after that, Campbell able to just clean up the rest of them. Doing work on this Poppy, and then a Keeper's Verdict kill is one of the funniest things in League. Just charging up that hammer and knocking out Pens. Once again, Justice Punch canceled into a stun. Pens going to get chunked there, but this is where it's okay. This is what you want to see out of Pens. When we're fighting over these wards, contesting vision, we have someone around us. One-handed gaming, taking a few tower shots. I don't think it's going to matter too much here. Teemos Kuchi has been farming up very nicely. This is, I think, the first game where 10 minutes in, he's actually ahead. Just slightly, just marginally, but that's going to be a great look for KCD as Caster Curse has been playing through this top lane very heavily in this series. Stun coming on through for Campbell into the wall. Goes one-handed gaming, and TP now coming in from Crosis. No ignite this time. Flash chase from members of KCD. Golden Sunset not going to be able to finish him off, and now TP coming through for the mid laner Pilk. 5 members of KCD in the bottom lane. Foe jumping on into the back line. Another stun from Campbell onto Pens. Keeper's Verdict knocks out the carries, and that will be an easy pickup onto Pens. All 10 members now showing up into the bottom lane. As Dragon is up, and KCD turn their eyes towards that with the pick on the enemy support. Campbell looking for more. is going to catch the stun. Campbell falling dangerously low. Fa goes forward. Clicky click. And down goes the Azir. Great heads-up play from the jungler of Kappachungus Deluxe, as he is able to punish a misstepping Crosus. Click-clacking on forward, goes over that wall, and picks up another crucial kill for this now snowballing Kappachungus squad. Teemos Kuchi still farming up pretty safely in this top lane. Just has enough wave clear now where One-Handed Gaming isn't able to walk up and take the tower right in front of his face, which is something we saw the past 2 games. So that's great to see. More even farming coming on through. But at this stage in the game, KCD has built up a 2k gold lead for themselves, and I've mentioned I like their scaling better. I think you have more reliable carries in the Sivir and the Syndra, and an easier, like with Fa being able to skirmish in the midst of things, unless Rammus gets some crucial taunts onto the backline, it's so tough to access Sivir and Syndra as a Rammus. You just get pushed away through the Poppy peel, through the Syndra peel, so definitely on the back foot right now, RCC. We'll see if One-Handed Gaming is able to turn anything around for them as he had in past games. Continuing to farm up, doing a quick stack check. He's at 135, so nothing that high. But if he's able to stack up and really become a threat there, this Nasus should be pretty tough to kill once more resistances come in as well. Rift Herald up in a minute 15 is going to be the next major objective that either team can kind of look forward to. Golden Sunset and Big Sexburg are going to be able to farm up pretty safely here on both sides. See what Pilk also walking forward aggressively in the bottom lane. Expect this Syndra to really have the Azir's number. Does have the Blackfire Torch completed item advantage over the Azir. And with Xin Zhao in the area, we'll see if any plays are to be made, as Crosus does get caught by the tail end of that stun. Is going to be forced to Emperor's Divide. Foe out of there, and then glide himself on out of there. One-Handed Gaming using the ulti on the top side. Looks to just help shove the wave in, as Teemos Kuchi is going to be slowed down, and Pens is in the area. Is this Cho'Gath tanky enough? We will find out just as much forward. Shield of Duran taunt coming through, and One-Handed Game, and he throwing down DKing. He just needs a lot of DKs to get it done, and it is going to be enough. Not quite. Never mind. Teemos Kuchi just barely on out of there. Not quite, though. Again, too many not quites, as Pens taking a few tower shots to help escort his Nasus on out of the tower, but Campbell wants the smoke. Gets it done. The E dropping down from Nasus drew tower aggro onto the Poppy, and with the Ignite, with the Keeper's Verdict, Campbell was able to get that kill. Trying to flash out now, but flashes forward right into Big Sexbird, who's going to be donated that, and now Fudd just poking his face on him, but realizes the 1v3 is going to be a bit too much for this Xin Zhao to handle. In the meanwhile, though, Golden Sunset has been able to hit mid as that bottom lane rotated from there up into the top lane. Golden Sunset going to be forced to ulti on out, as Etrium was closing the gap there. No quite follow-up, so maybe a bit of a bait there. Well done to the Rammus, forcing a cooldown out of a situation where you maybe normally wouldn't expect to get a cooldown. Still a level down into Xin Zhao, though. See what type of utility this Rammus pick is able to provide, as top laners are going to keep farming pretty evenly back and forth. A lot of health on that Cho'Gath. Nasus is still going to need an extra hand to get a kill in that isolated 1v1. Golden Sunset pushing forward the mid lane. Castricker sent a lot of members for this Rift Herald, so they are going to pay the price in the mid lane for this. That's going to be Feat of Warfare going over. back. Golden Sunset forced to flash upwards away from his team now, and One-Handed Gaming is collapsing on forward. This could be trouble for KCD as CC is pulling the collapse here. Big two-man stun on the backside, forces a flash out from One-Handed Gaming and Unleashed Wrath, but a three-man Emperor's Divide may be enough for CC to turn it. Kroos is free hitting onto the carries of KCD, and in comes Timos Kuchi from the side. Another stun from Pilk, trying to keep his mid laner alive. One-Handed Gaming not quite able to close the gap. Many members falling in what was kind of an extended 4v5. A flash rupture forward, though. Timos Kuchi wants more, but the shield of Duranton is going to be enough to keep Kroos alive. In the meantime, though, BSB is hitting on the top side. So Golden Sunset just caught a bit out of position thanks to a great roam over by One-Handed Gaming. Forced to flash in a bit of an awkward situation, and then Kroos with a big three-man Emperor's Divide there. Going to keep his team in it. Able to knock down Golden Sunset and Pilk, falling dangerously low as Timos Kuchi just num 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 right on the Galio, picking that one up. Pens falling down to 1-5 again, struggling in this game 3. Campbell has had his number, but most of the result has been Pilk getting a lot of gold. See him with the 500 gold lead of his counterpart, and with that Kog'Maw able to get towers on the side lane, he's been farming up quite nicely. Actually ahead of the Sivir this go around. And until this Sivir gets to like 3 items, it's not too scary of a late game threat. As TP coming in a fight looking to break out around this third dragon. Timos Kuchi on the flank a bit here. Ulti popped from the Sivir as One-Handed Gaming pops the ulti of his own. Trying to build some space for his Kog'Maw. A bit separated as these fights, as it's pretty slow on both sides. Campbell falling low, Etrium falling low. Three-man stun on the back line. Going to buy some more time. Keeper's Verdict getting charged up. Is going to be canceled, though, so 30 more seconds on that. Dragon resets, and we are still live and itching for a fight on both sides. Kroos is keeping aggressive positioning forward. Gets stunned, but is able to walk out of that one. Timos Kuchi, big two-man rupture on the side. Forces the heroic entrance. Does go on forward. Is it going to be enough? Is taunted. Two-man Keeper's Verdict, though, by Campbell. And on the backside of the fight, that leaves Etrium alone, going in, sacrificing valiantly to keep the rest of his squad alive. And with how low everyone else has fallen in that one pick on the jungler, KCD is looking towards the dragon, putting themselves on sole point here. Kroos can do nothing but watch as Campbell hex flashing over the wall for good measure. Golden Sunset showing some support as well. One-Handed Gaming still trying to stack up. Only 195 on these Nasus stacks. Not quite enough to really do significant damage. And is going to be tickled down by the Sivir. Fa88 comes on in. Nasus all gets popped again. Ping's coming on through, and a knock-up barely buys enough time to get the stun, but Pens flashes out. Kroos pushes Fa out. And now Big Sexpert is marching on forward. Pilk has been slowed down. Big shutdown over to the Kog'Maw. And things have turned back up towards Caster Curse. Great spacing on their side. Playing around cooldowns well. Buying time for Kog'Maw to come on in. And with that Wither, Pilk not able to walk on out of the barrage of just acidic vomit that Big Sexpert lays on into him. Yeah, we got ourselves a game 3 here. I'm losing my voice a little bit. I got to work on like vocal exercises or something. There's a lot of talking at work past 2 days, just meetings and teaching interns. Catching up to me a bit now as these two teams have brought us to a very exciting game 3. We'll have to see really what happens in these next 3.5 minutes if either team can build up more of an incremental advantage. If not, KCD is going to be set up to look towards another Ocean Soul, which in this game is even more valuable. These fights have been going very long. A lot of back and forth, a lot of just beefy frontline as Taunt comes on through for Fa88. Forced to use the Xin Zhao ult, forced to flash out as Big Sexpert does loads of damage there. And now we have Timos Kuchi actually winning the side lane with some presence there, getting the Heartsteel stack. Cho'Gath has been doing work. Heroic entrance in over the top to help in space for Croesus. That may be enough as he's allowed to kind of free hit here, spawning a few soldiers, but in comes Campbell, in comes Golden Sunset. Flash stun into the wall now. Golden Sunset able to snipe him out with the boomerang blade, but here's Big Sexpert able to free hit for now. No flash on the Poppy, no flash on the Cho'Gath, is going to be able to pick up another kill here and another shutdown. Is Kog'Maw now 5-2. We are shaping up for a battle of carries here. As Bird, we'll see what type of gliding he's able to do later on. Pilk forced to flash out. This Nasus starting to scale. 213 stacks. It's always a time bomb going against this stacking character like this. We'll see what the answer is on the side of KCD. Sorry, just getting the music back a little bit. I don't like this one, though. Go back to the Diana sessions. 15-11, 22.5 minutes in. We are just 1.5k gold separating these two teams. And Dragon spawning in less than 2 minutes. That's going to be another big opportunity for a fight to break out. We've seen a lot of little skirmishes here and there. And the last 5v5 really wasn't even a full 5v5. It was kind of just standoffish. Both teams looking for whatever angle they could find in. It's Vision being pushed into the top side of the map. Campbell going in, getting a stun onto Etrium, who's falling dangerously low here. Two-man taunt on the backside, though. And Big Sex Bird hitting back onto Xin Zhao and Sivir here. Marching on forward with one-handed gaming, who flash forwards for the Wither, but the Xin Zhao ult is going to be enough to disengage that. Etrium falling low as well. And Pilk sitting in the bottom side for TP, but Teemo's Gucci a bit caught out here. 1 versus 3, a bit isolated. Is his team going to be able to collapse in time? As Pilk still sitting in the bottom lane, Teemo's Gucci forced to flash on out. It's going to be the end of that little skirmish, but some crucial cooldowns lost as we turn our eyes towards this Otacon and maybe even the Drake spawn soon as well. As what a call here. KCD going to look to just trade the objective. Opting to give the Otacon, set themselves up with some more tower gold before what could be a crucial soul fight. Teemo's Gucci going to clear the top wave, and that mid tier 2 knocked down for Golden Sunset. Bot lane tier 2 knocked down for Pilk, who has picked up loads of gold here. We see Croesus has not really been farming here, but Teemo's Gucci a bit caught out here, maybe trying to cancel some bases. And now 40-second death timer is going to be spawning after that Drake spawns. That's the next big objective here. Soul points for KCD. They're camping that. They want to start it up instantly. Try to get it down before CC can even get there. And even setting up a bit of a bush trap right now. Etrium going to walk in, none the wiser. In comes the knockup. In comes the stuns. And that will be an easy kill over for Golden Sunset. And with no jungler, that may just be Ocean Soul headed over to KCD. Nasus did recall 2 items now, has the Spirit Visage, is going to be able to stand in the face of that Syndra damage a bit more, but AK on the Drake. Caster Curse going to look to contest it, try to throw a Hail Mary. Keeper's Verdict coming out onto the Nasus. Croesus looking for a road over the top, but that Dragon is going to be secured. Soul going over to Fa88. And now Pilk, 3-1 and 4 on this Syndra. Golden Sunset 5-2 and 3, and Teemo's Gucci with 500 Heartsteel stacks. And an Ocean Soul now. Big Sex Bird, as much damage as he does, he's going to have to be putting in some crazy heavy lifting to shred through those health bars. It's Golden Sunset going to be able to wave clear through this pretty comfortably here. Pilk looking around for maybe a bit of an angle on the Scatter of the Week. 25 minutes in now, though, with Ocean Drake, with 3,000 to 4,000 gold lead here. Kappachungus are looking good. Looking to set themselves up for maybe a Baron into a push. One-handed gaming, not stacking up too highly. The eggs in the Caster Curse basket are all on Big Sexpert right now, and with the threat of the Syndra kind of one-shot, Terminus not going to be enough. It's going to be tough to navigate these team fights for Caster Curse. We'll see what they're going to be able to do here. Someone's going to have to answer this Cho'Gath, this Nasus rather. I'd expect it to be the Cho'Gath. Cho'Gath getting a bit caught out in the topside river here. Etrium not going to opt for more though. Pilk actually going to be the one answering the Nasus on this side lane. who's been popping the Fury of the Sands just pretty liberally to get waves pushed in faster, to get stacked up quicker. It's been a non-stop action game here. Over a kill a minute. And you can just kind of tell when these farm numbers are that low, like how much fighting each team has been doing. Penn's looking for a taunt, but that's going to be kited out of by Golden Sunset. And now in comes Etrium. Campbell Amoeba forced to flash out as One-Handed Gaming also roamed over from the pushed-in bottom wave. And now they're going to be looking to lay siege onto this mid lane tower, but Sivir has great wave clear for these scenarios. This game looks like it could be stalled out really as long as KCD wanted to, as long as Golden Sunset stays safe in his positioning. And eyes are going to be on both 80 carries for me. Big Sexbird is the damage source right now for Caster Curse. Crosis is in a pretty good spot too, but it's just tougher to execute on the Azir, and I haven't seen great soldier management from him so far, so I'm a little more relying on Big Sexbird to pump out the damage here, especially into those units of Cho'Gath. We're going to need to see some healing reduction as well, as they do have the Ocean Soul. Now on the other side, Golden Sunset, if he ever falls, it could be trouble for KCD, as he's the reliable source of backline damage that is hitting beyond this beefy front line. As fight breaks out, Campbell falling dangerously low. Stun onto the backside of Atrium is not enough to get him out, as Pilk is now forced to retreat for the hills as well. Atrium getting the taunt on forward, and Pens with a flash Justice Punch. Taunt is going to be flashed out from Golden Sunset, who's still hitting this entire time. Big Sexbird, though, flashing on forward, popping the Ghost, able to pick up the jungler on the backside, and now it's just the 2 carries left for the side of KCD. Crosis dashing on forward, not going to be able to find anything for now. Health bars blinking low on the jungler of Caster Curse. And a 2 for 3 when all is said and done, but the Sivir ult going to be popped, maybe looking for more. Cho'Gath, though, on the top side, though, he was out of this fight the entire time. That beefy front line wasn't there. So great pulling of the trigger from Pens and the rest of Caster Curse, but not quite enough to get a significant advantage as Golden Sunset and Pilk, those 2 crucial carries of Kappachungus, are able to flash out and keep themselves alive. And now with some side lane pressure, we'll see if KCD are able to start to look towards this Baron. Bird has been gliding. I mean, he's been able to hit so far through what have been a very strong Syndra. Campbell falling on early in that fight, not getting too much value with the Keeper's Verdict either. And really just chaos breaking out as the Bruiser topside diving forward onto Golden Sunset nearly falls him, but not quite enough, as Etrium and Crosis working on this scuttle do pop it. But Pilk's in the area and does catch Etrium with the stun. Forces the Rammus and Azir ult out. And now eyes turn towards the Baron. With those 2 crucial abilities down, is Caster Curse going to be able to contest this one? It's going to be tight, as TP coming in the bottom side, middle side river from the Nasus. Stun connects onto the Azir. Front line's kind of trading damage back and forth. Keeper's Verdict on a 2 from Campbell, but he's going to fall down to the Baron damage. Bird claiming the credit for that kill. Etrium not able to get into the pit as Teemos Kuchi chomps that one away. Pilk able to get saved from his Cho'Gath. The silence coming through. Unleashed Wrath not going to be enough to kill the Etrium either, as Pens with the heroic entrance over top. Bird trying to march his way on forward after getting knocked out of the fight. But it looks like KCD is going to be able to walk on out of this one. A few ruptures, a few Scatter the Weaks to help pave the way. And now they're turning face too. The Ocean Soul healing them up. Still no Grievous on the side of Caster Curse. As Golden Sunset canceling his recall. One-Handed Gaming falling dangerously low. But when all is said and done, losing your support for the Baron is going to be something KCD is very happy with. And now Elder spawning in 12 means the action is not going to stop. Members are going to try to back here and get back out on the map as quick as they can. Pilk leading the way for Kappachungus. Teemos Kuchi still clearing the top side. I'd like to see him spend some of that 1,200 gold and kind of TP back in. We'll see if the call is to play the map. We've seen bunch of map play across the series so far, but when it's Elder, the stakes are high. Fa starting to lead the way to clear out some minions of his own. And Timos Kuchi is sitting in the top lane still. Etrium falling dangerously low. Campbell with a flash over the wall, but he doesn't have enough damage. Etrium able to walk out of that one, stun onto the Zir, but no follow-up in the meantime, though. But the steadfast presence forces the Emperor's Divide out, and now Crosus and Bird are able to free hit. Timos Kuchi still in the top side. Xin Zhao falls down, and Big Sex Bird is hitting for free. That's 2, as he is still giving chase here. Timos Kuchi laying threat on the top side of the map, has the Baron. Pilk with a 2-man stun on both carries of Caster Curse. Crosus flashing on forward, though. Dodges out of the orb, and that will be the end of a crazy fight here as Etrium maybe looking to loop around here. Pilk trying to hold his ground, but his Rammus ulti over the top into the taunt will be enough to get rid of the mid laner of KCD. Timos Kuchi sitting in the top side that entire time, watching his team kind of fall in that 4 versus 5 there. Now TPing out, was able to get the inhib tower with the threat of the Baron, but Elder Drake going over to Caster Curse as they're looking to bounce back in this crucial game 3. Back and forth and back and forth, 19 to 19 kills. In comes the Cho'Gath now, but he's dealing with an Elder Dragon. It's going to be enough to once again nom 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 down the Rammus. Crazy action back and forth. Azir looking to TP out to keep himself safe as well. 25 seconds left on this Baron and 2 minutes left on this Elder. We'll see if Caster Curse are able to bring themselves back in here with maybe some more team fights. They don't have great initiation tools, but with the Elder, these fights should be enough for them to at least start things off and be comfortable coming out on top. But Big Sexbird, man, this dude has been frying in these team fights. Without the Cho'Gath to really build space, and the Xin Zhao falling early thanks to kind of some overcommitment from both the Poppy and the jungler of KCD. Sunset and Pilk just don't have enough space to hit. You know, One-Handed Gaming's able to kind of walk at them, build space alongside Etrium. Pen's doing work in these team fights as well, but really ultimately, Big Sexbird is the one utilizing the space the rest of his teammates have been building for him. Still in the side lane, Timos Kuchi farming up nicely. We're only at 300 stacks, 30 minutes in here. A little behind the curve. You'd want to be maybe at least at 500 here. Like I said, this game has been mostly fighting, not too much farming. We are still over a kill a minute. We've actually upped the kills a minute since I last touched on that point. Doesn't look like anything's going to happen with the Elder, though, as there's just not quite enough grouping potential out of the side of Caster Curse. Things are going to probably sit back at least another minute 50 until this Drake spawns. The Sivir wave clear is going to be enough to knock down any siege that Caster Curse tries to lay into them. Timos Kuchi looping around in the bottom side too, but this Nasus House Elder, I'm not sure if this is a good fight for him. If he can hit the ruptures though, does connect on that, forces the Fury out from Nasus as the silence comes through, abilities landing on each other. Both teams kind of collapsing here, but with the Nasus ulti that will be enough for one-handed to get out of there. And Syndra pushing top as well. A lot of side lane action in this game 3. Trying to get the waves in a good spot to maybe contest for the inhib, or at the very least get good vision set up in the top side for this ensuing Baron. Spawning in just over a minute here. Looks like it's going to be Kappachungus' next play. As recalls coming on in. Smart recalls, you know, you want to do that about a minute before the objective spawns so you can refresh wards, spend the gold that you have. Make sure you're as strong as possible before going into these crucial late game fights. Etrium maybe looking for a bit of a side lane pick here. Not able to find it for the time. Big Sexbird, full build right now. 17k gold total. A lot of items on the side of this Azir too. Rylai's and Liandry's really looking for more utility there. No death cap, so opting to help build the space for Bird, recognizing he's the carry of this game. It's going to be on this acidic vomit to really shred through this Ocean Soul powered up Kappachungus squad. As Baron is now up. Some fishing back and forth from Pilk and Timos Kuchi with the Scatter the Weak and the Ruptures. posturing around the river is KCD. We see the pot popped by One-Handed Gaming in this late game fight. Those come in handy. Wither onto the Syndra. Hearthsteel for Teemo's Kushi. It is tense. Some clenchers here in this Game 3 series decider. More efficient with the Ruptures. Fuck, gonna be jumping on forward and a stun onto the Azir, who is forced to dash forward and flash out. But Golden Sunset picking that one up, flashing forward on his own. Looking to chase after Pens. Etrium trying to buy space for his support, able to do so, flashing out. So the cost is only 1 for now, but One-Handed Gaming going to be chased down by Campbell. That Sivir movement speed is going to be enough to close the distance here. One-Handed Gaming also forced to flash out, so a myriad of flashes forced out as Big Sexpert is caught by the stun. Campbell flashing forward, crucial man down for Caster Curse as more flashes forward to chase. That may just be the game here. Croesus down for 25, Bird down for 50. Pho looking to march on forward, and Golden Sunset leading the charge as well as Kappachungus with a little glimpse of a cannon wave. One-Handed Gaming trying to hold on with what he can. Etrium going in, taunting who he can. One-Handed Gaming looking to lay down the cane, but it's not going to be quite enough as Golden Sunset shredding him with those blades. Etrium, the last one standing for now, is 0 up, but in the face of 5 members of Kappachungus is not going to be enough. And I'll say it, that's Kappachungus' first series win in LOLMidwest. Congrats to them. They take the series 2-1 over Caster Curse in a crazy one. "37 minutes, 50 seconds in." Kind of see the damage charts. It was the tale of these 2 carries on both sides going back and forth. 38K to 39K. I mean, that's pretty darn close, but it is going to be Kappachungus who are able to come out on top this go around. Just barely getting out of it and getting their first win, I believe, in LOLMidwest. Well deserved. We know what this team has been capable of, and able to display it here and maybe start a little dominant run here, turning things around. This could be the start. Both these teams going to 1-1. Very strong teams here in the Rec League. 2 teams to be watching going forward, as we saw a lot of mechanical displays on there. My MVP of the series going to be Campbell for the side of Kappachungus. Like in that game 2, especially, just able to set his team up for success, and Pho and Golden Sunset able to follow up well there. One-Handed Gamer with some valuable, valiant attempts there. Great performance on the Trundle in game 1, dominating on the Renekton in game 2, and just not quite enough on the Nasus here in game 3. Maybe a little more time would have done it. Yeah, this was a banger. Unfortunately, I can't do an interview. I got to head out shortly. But that was a game. Exciting to see from both teams. Games 1 and 3 went very late, and when games go late like that, it just speaks to how evenly matched the teams are. Different styles as well, kind of playing through a side lane on the side of Caster Curse behind One-Handed Gaming, and building your team around that. And on the other side, the bot lane of Kappachungus really showing up in games 2 and 3 there, being that backline threat that they needed to be. And they'll be able to carry their team over the line for the week 2 victory here. So that will be it for our action this Wednesday night in LOLMidwest. Looking forward, I believe the final game of week 2 is this Friday. Going to be between Bop It, Twist It, and Team Solid. And after that, we'll have the weekly recap between myself and Hairwiz as things start to heat up in this week 2. We'll see how things shape up. But yeah, this has been exciting, man. Excited to see all the Rec League continues to offer, especially these two teams. Very distinct styles, very fun to watch in team fights and in map play. So it'll be something to look forward to, and I hope something everyone else looks forward to as well. But for now, hope you enjoyed tuning in. Appreciate all the love in the audience, and hope to see you around next time. Have a good night, everybody.